Oh, you found it. Somebody found it. Good.
Yeah, I found it and reloaded it to your iPad, so.
Oh.
And Richard, if you want to put it on your computer, you don't have to download the packet.
Just look at it. Okay, tell me when. Ready to go. Okay, good. Welcome. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the City of Alpharetta's Design Review Board workshop meeting. Today is Friday, July 16th, 2021. So happy Friday, everyone, and thank you for being here this morning. So let's go through our applications this morning, and we won't go in the order that they're in for our public hearing because we have to have a few members be excused while we have some discussion. So the first application we're going to discuss this morning during the workshop is Lazy Dog. So I'm going to ask Holly and Kim to excuse themselves. You can grab a bagel and some coffee, and then once we finish that, Holly will call you back in for the North Point Parkway application. Okay, so the first up this morning for the workshop is Lazy Dog. And it'll be the four of us participating in the public hearing again. So just FYI. All right, it looks like they've made a few changes to the material palette from trying to do a comparison from last time to this time, last meeting to this meeting. Let's see, you're scrolling through. Can you go to the color elevation? Lauren, are you controlling this? Are you controlling this, or is this?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm trying.
All right.
This computer is not loving these files for some reason. Okay, here's our.
Okay, and essentially today is the exterior elevations and materials, correct? Because we've done site plan.
And landscape.
And landscaping, okay.
So they changed and added the black, they pulled the dark brick from the shopping center near there. And I thought I saw that they had a page. But we talked to them about the cohesiveness between the other center and this one. And they pulled it together, added some materials, left the EFS colors or the hard coat colors, they left those the same. I guess this is the best I'm going to get right now. They left those the same. Tower, all the angles and design stayed the same. They just added in or changed the hard materials. You know, they had that real Tennessee flat brown stacked stone. They went to more of a really angular gray and black stone. And then brought over the darker brick from one of the buildings next door. So
I like the stone. I don't know that I like the brick, though. I mean, I get the reason that they did that, but personally, I think it would look better with stone, where they changed it to brick. I mean, if you go back and look at the elevations from last time, I think where they put the brick now, and I was comparing them back and forth, I think the stone looks, especially with the new stone, I think it would look better than the brick, in my opinion.
So you're thinking all stone?
I'm thinking pretty much all stone. I like the way they brought the sign down into that.
I did too.
I think it sort of breaks up that.
Yeah, and I think you'll have a better visibility at it.
Yeah.
You know, because of the overstory trees that are right at the street.
Right. And that's black brick back in there, and I think that's fine because that kind of breaks up that big mass. But those on the east elevation, those three black brick sections on the right,
Little bay areas of like.
These here?
No, on the east elevation.
No, east right there.
Yeah, and then I'd even like to see it continue into that space in the windows there instead of stucco.
Here.
Because that's the most prominent elevation, right? That faces the
So this
corner.
is Haynes Bridge Road.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And North Point is out here.
Yeah, and same
Right.
thing on the north elevation where the brick, I think if that stayed stone, I think that looks better than the brick. And if you go back to the May package, you can kind of see what that looks like, because that's what they presented last time.
Do we have a copy of the May package readily available, or at least of those elevations?
We probably have it on paper, but I can't, for some reason, get to the public drive.
Oh, okay.
To do it electronically, I could go down and get it and email it up, but
Well,
for some reason, I can't get to our public drive on this
So
one.
if you give me a minute, I think I can get you those. So I'll work on that while we're,
No, that's a new one.
Okay. And I think, Frank, at one point you mentioned the tower, they have I'll say a squared-off tower, a straight up and down tower at one of their facilities, restaurant locations in Texas. And I really like that. I think that takes out some of the southwestern theming of that.
Right.
If they can straighten that tower up.
yeah, I agree. I think if they put the stone back where the brick is and squared that tower off, I think I personally be there.
Yeah.
Nope, that's a new one.
Okay. So, yeah, let's see if we can find, if there's availability to find that May
I will.
2021 elevation, so we know what we know.
You know, I was
Looks like-
thinking of another thing we've talked about before in that tower feature, what the illumination was gonna be at the top. I mean, we could make a condition that it's not.
It's not illuminated or,
Right, that it's not inter-illuminated, so it doesn't look like
Less prominent.
yeah, gives it less, especially at night, which you're not gonna see a whole lot of the building anyway at night along the street because of the low-level pedestrian lighting,
Right.
all that's out there, but, I mean, that's just another option that,
I wouldn't mind having it lit a little bit, but not like not like a lighthouse or something, have a beacon or you know, something that's glowing. I mean, a
Yeah.
nice ambient, low wattage or low lighting level up there. And how we call for that may be the challenge. Okay,
Not the Alpharetta meeting, but just the video, not the notes.
Yeah,
Lauren is looking, so, but Frank, you're.
I'm gonna just
Shot at.
email you a couple of screenshots.
Yeah.
You can just bring it up in your email here in a second.
are you gonna email the screenshot of the squared tower too, Frank? So that,
Yeah, you're really challenging me.
I'm sorry.
I will work on that.
Okay. All right. Anything else for Lazy Dog this morning?
Landscaping, I believe, Steve Manley will be here today to do, the landscape portion. I heard comments verbally from Pat that was much better than what the original was. And Steve just wasn't able to make it last month, so I think we would have got it last month if Steve would have been able to make it, but, hopefully he'll be here today to run through that, and,
Okay,
it should be the landscape portion should be good.
okay, very good.
Richard, do you want me to get the rest of the ladies?
If you want to grab.
You can grab
Holly.
Holly. Yes, please. Okay. Yeah, so our next applicant or application is going to be 6360 North Point Parkway, and that's the old Fuddruckers.
This is the side
The fun people are back.
Well, wait,
Fun one is back.
actually, Kim, you have to stay back one more. Yeah, sorry, one more application. Sorry about that, but we need Katie back. How about that?
Oh, and
We'll-
the
we'll-
door, and the door's locked.
We can go through this.
Okay, yeah. All right. So this will be the first time that we've seen this second application.
Yeah, we went through it last month, and there was a lot of comment about no
Kind of consistency.
consistency. I think Mr. Owens and Mr. Corkle went kind of through that and talked about the lack of it was just a kind of a hodgepodge. So what they've done now, and there was a lot of discussion about the sidewalk out at the street, things like that. So
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
they still are not wanting to remove the side, or remove the tree. They want to remove the trees, but in order to remove the trees, they have to go with the North Point guideline, which requires a sidewalk. And they don't want to do that. So they're, in this bubble here, they're leaving all of that alone, other than this row of shrubs right here.
So we're going to have an inconsistent sidewalk pattern amongst.
We're gonna have what we have now. There's
Okay.
no sidewalk there now, and they're not gonna build one. So, it'll
So we're
just,
gonna have like new landscaping closer and then old landscaping towards the street?
we'll have, so out here at the street, you'll have old landscaping in this tree cover that's currently there. And then along the parking, you'll get this row of shrubs. There's not enough area to do a double row here without removing the trees, of which they don't want to do without doing the sidewalk. So, but they are adding this double row here that's not there and changing out these island trees.
When they do actually lease this building out,
The building is leased.
okay, so how would they be made to, what would make them put in a sidewalk? Like,
If they want to remove these trees out here, or do some other type of land disturbance over 1,000 square feet, which would trigger a permit, and then they would have to do the sidewalk.
But this is triggering a land disturbance permit over 1,000 feet.
No, because all they're doing is adding this landscaping. So they're not disturbing the earth enough to
Okay,
do it.
so we could potentially have properties on both sides that have sidewalks and this one doesn't?
yes.
Okay.
Looking at their parking islands where they have planted trees, they're not the right size, correct? They're not 100 square feet
But
minimum.
they're required currently at 200 square feet.
Or
but
200.
Code compliant because they're not changing it. So they're just changing the tree out.
And so let's go back. What's the purpose of redoing the landscape, kind of halfway redoing the landscaping?
We'll have to ask the applicant.
Okay. But they've leased out the building apparently so they do have
Very
a,
exciting tenant.
So they-
Actually, it's been announced. I guess I can say it. It's called Food Terminal. They're part of the Sweet Hut brand, if you've heard of Sweet Hut or Food Terminal, either one. They're a pretty small, family-owned thing right now. I think they've got 3, maybe 4 Sweet Hut locations and 1 Food Terminal location, and this will be the second Food Terminal location. The family used to live here in Alpharetta, and their way to work was North Point Parkway. And the daughter who runs the business part of the company basically saw one of our Facebook flashes with our new North Point guidelines and different stuff, and told her brother, hey, let's take a ride up to Alpharetta. We haven't been up there for a while. And they saw the Fuddruckers building for lease and thought they wanted to be part of this fun. So
But they wouldn't like a sidewalk in front of their business? It's a bakery, right?
I mean, they're just leasing the building, so it's really a landlord thing.
Yeah.
I have suspicions that we're gonna see this again after we approve this one, hopefully today. I think
or
I
do
think
we,
we'll probably see some building changes,
Yeah.
and then that may trigger some other changes.
Well, it's interesting, because didn't they present, because they were looking for a tenant, but now that
Yes.
they have one, why not wait?
They had one when he presented.
I thought, I'm sorry, please, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, I tend to agree. I'd like to see the package at the same time if they're going to make some external.
Can't do that, though.
Well,
This
we can
package is here, and
we can defer it.
if you defer it now, it'll go to BZA
Why?
because it's approvable. I mean,
They're not putting a sidewalk in.
they don't have to.
Well, but
That's not North Point guidelines, that they have to do an improvement?
Only if they're, want to meet the guideline. All they're doing is improving the landscaping. So if they want to improve that sight line, which is what we did with Outback next door. You want to take those trees all out along North Point Parkway, that's fine. But you got to do the sidewalk and you got to do the landscaping. These folks don't want to do that North Point stuff. whether it's price or whatever it is, they don't have to, but they also don't get the benefit of removing all the big overstory oaks that hide the thing that they claimed was what helped fail the restaurant,
So the other option is to table it. And then it doesn't get
I don't
deferred
think
and
we
it
should do
doesn't have
that.
to go, then it doesn't have to go to BZA.
I think that's a bad practice, but whatever you guys decide is what we do.
Okay. All right.
At the time they brought this forth, they didn't have a tenant, as I recall, and they wanted to dress it up just to make it look better.
Yeah.
But Brett said they actually did have a tenant.
Yeah, but
I
they told
think they
us
actually
they
did
did
have a
not. Yeah, they told us they did not.
He
Then.
said the point of it was to attract a tenant.
And I think it may be semantics at that point. It may be like an LOI out there, but not a signed lease,
Right.
which could be currently what's going on as well. Could be just an LOI, but I do know they're in plan review and things like that. So they've definitely moved forward from the company side. But I don't know what Brixmore is doing as far as, this portion. So,
Okay.
okay. So.
All right, let's call Kim back, 'cause then we'll talk about Crabapple Landscape. Requested.
All right, Crabapple Landscape. We'll let Kim get in here quick. And Crabapple Landscape is just a sign. They're at 72 Marietta Street. And they're moving in there. That's the building, the little house right behind the subway on Main Street. So they're doing a sign. It's a sandblasted sign, 6x6 wooden posts. It's going to I didn't get a picture of it, but this building back here, if you remember doing the real estate sign that was the big 6x6s with the iron that was right up the corner on Canton Street or Roswell Street, they've now moved into this building here and brought their sign over there. So it's kind of the same style of the big 6x6 framing and things like that. This one is not steel, it's HDU foam, but I think it fits.
I like
think it was
it.
it.
I like the substantial post. I wish the
I do too,
city park signs were that
right?
big.
It looks like that company knows how to do some landscaping.
I know.
Gee whiz,
Looks
imagine
like it.
that.
I mean, it doesn't say it, but I'm assuming that's irrigated. If they're
Well,
gonna,
we'll ask them, make sure it is. Okay. All right, that's pretty straightforward. All right, next we have Fulton Science Academy. So we've got a greenhouse and then some property fencing to look at.
Fulton Science Academy is, when I get to it, they are adding, or want to add, I think it's a 30 by 70 greenhouse to their campus as part of their science program. Staff likes the thought, doesn't necessarily like the location so much. They do have to do some pretty significant work to the site, and as soon as I can get there, I'll show you why. To leave it in the position that it is, or that they're proposing. So they're proposing this location right here. This is
Fanfare.
Fanfare Way. So they're proposing this location. The entrance to the school, if you remember, is right up here off of Fanfare. So this dashed line right here is their underground stormwater that runs over here to the thing, over to the pond. So in its current location, they're going to have to move the pipe. And that's a, I mean, it's not that it can't be moved, but they're going to have to move it to build a structure over it. Staff suggested moving the building around to this side or maybe over on one of the athletic fields just to avoid that. But they, functionality wise with what goes on, I guess, in this wing of the school, they want it to be right there. So that's their choice.
There's a door there that comes out, that opens right up into that area.
From the school, it's probably a science wing or
right, yeah,
something
that
like
was
that.
gonna say, it's probably science
Yeah.
stuff.
And I have to say, I drove by there last night again. That is probably 20 feet below Fanfare, the level of Fanfare Street. So
Significant drop.
I'm
It's-
just curious, the vision of walking on the sidewalk, because I do walk there a lot. We walk through their property too, but You know, so, because when I saw this, I thought, oh, wow, okay. It's not gonna be above the top, I mean.
I don't think it
but
will
we'll
be.
Looking
see
at
if
the
it-
roof, you mean?
Well, we can ask them.
Yeah, just be looking at the roof from the street.
I mean, greenhouses by nature are not attractive buildings,
They're not.
but
One thing that staff suggested is we talked to them about landscaping around it, and where that really works for us, it doesn't work for a greenhouse to surround it by
yeah, I was
landscaping.
gonna say, I don't think.
What about on the north side?
We could on the one side. What staff suggested is at this line right here or somewhere, if you can see, I'm up on the picture of the thing, making this bottom half, which likely won't have any plant material down there. It's usually, you know, heights wise, doing brick to match the building. It would give the whole greenhouse a completely different feel.
You're gonna,
Really tie it to the site more.
But would you really see it?
you wouldn't see that from the
Because
sidewalk.
the incline is right there.
I mean, you're gonna see it if you look down there, and so I just think it makes it look better to the site. I mean, if you wanna say, are you gonna see it, then we really didn't need to brick any of this side of the building, because you don't see any of it. So it's a site thing, it's a whole, you know, we're reviewing the whole site. So
Is it made of like just a clear plastic type?
Looks like it.
It doesn't say.
Because I want to make sure that doesn't like, over time turn yellow, that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a glass or if it's a plastic side. We'll have to ask the applicant. Hopefully they've brought some samples. The other thing that they want to do is we need to get moving along is they're going to add this fence detail here and gates to the complex. So they're going to start down here at their property line and bring the fence up to the entrance, and they're going to gate the entrance, do a little half moon around the obelisk and their sign, and then continue along Fanfare down to the pond, and then turn it and tie it into the existing fence that's already around the pond.
They just eliminated your walk.
They sure did. My dog loves to go running back there.
Well, does it connect down there at the bottom? Oh, wait, there it is. I see. Okay. Never mind.
Okay. All right, any questions for Fulton Science Academy? All right, let's move on to Bank of America.
Bank of America, they came a couple months ago, actually it's been a few months ago now, and we talked with them about the ATMs and the different things they're doing with all that. So that project is currently underway. So now they are here to talk about the building. And if you remember back then, we approved the changing of the signs, but there was a significant discussion about how this portion of the building would look once you remove the signs and try to patch in new paint and this and that. And I want to think that caused them to think, yeah, that was a great idea from the board, so we're going to do something about it. So this is what they're proposing. Some white banding at the top, and to me it appears two different colors of dark paint on the brick, but
It doesn't, there's only one dark gray.
But there's only one.
Right.
There's only one sample, so I'm not really sure if they shaded it, because this was, I'm just not really sure.
Is that shading from the light?
Could be.
It's a white building. It's like, what? No,
Or the sunshine.
They're bringing the building
it looks fine.
up to date by the way they're massing the color.
They're definitely modernizing it, not that, and I sent this over to the downtown consultant
I don't know. I'll mention,
and said,
mention it.
what do you think? And he basically said,
This,
without redoing the entire facade, it is what it is. It's better than what it is, because they have, the red brick that's there is real kind of pinky. There's a lot of infill.
Now there's infill
It's not
that
a-
doesn't match.
Yeah, it needs something.
Yeah, it's just not attractive brick.
well, the
I
style,
think I like this. I like the dark
I
gray.
think it
I think it looks
yeah,
nice.
the style and detailing on the brick here almost looks more contemporary. It doesn't look traditional, right? Everything is very straight lines. There's
Yeah.
not soldier courses. It's, right, it's an
I think it'll
improvement.
tie in with the match.
I think it's definitely an improvement.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just exterior elevation changes for that
Exterior
one.
elevations, yeah, we did,
I thought there was some site lighting or something they had.
they
in the package.
have a site lighting on there, but I looked back and we approved site lighting, so
All right, just
I
wanna
don't
make
know
sure.
if they added that because they're changing maybe these fixtures on the building, but nothing on this plan was alarming anyway, so.
Okay, all right, and then let's go to Stone Walk 2.
Stone Walk 2, so this is your site plan. Stone Walk 2 is the Alpha Soda complex, if you remember that. If you've not been by there for a while, they've already torn off what was the sunroom at Alpha Soda. There was some discussion who the tenant was gonna be, whether they were gonna build a separate building in the parking lot and this and that. Well, they've locked down their tenant, and so they're gonna add to the building, same depth and width as one of the other suites, and then they're gonna add a little covered area, for it. I can't say who the tenant is, but we've looked and it looks fun.
Viva Chicken.
As
Okay.
long as it's fun, it's a yes.
It says on the drawings.
Does it on the drawing?
Yeah, it says a
Yeah,
Viva
and I was
Chicken
gonna say,
edition.
They
I guess
read,
then
they read
we'll
it on the
say
drawing.
Viva Chicken
Viva.
Viva.
is the prospective tenant. The prospective tenant.
well-
So they are doing a little bit of change here. They're getting rid of some parking, which they've got enough parking to do, to get rid of. They're changing a little bit of the landscape in that area and stuff. Staff has been working pretty diligently with the owner, and I believe we're gonna get, it's not shown, they may or may not bring it, but I believe we're gonna get streetscape to complement both the Shake Shack and the Starbucks building. They don't have quite as much room as those two buildings do, but it's currently sod, and it's gonna look substantially more than that. So I'm hoping that you trust staff enough to let us work on that with them, because it's not required currently. Now, they're really close on requiring a land disturbance permit, so it could get required, but currently, we're trying to just work it through and get it planted. So the building, they've got some examples here and from the rear and down the street. This building, we're hoping will go away. We're currently working with Regions Bank, who's now the new owner of this property. And we're hopeful for a demo and rebuild on that site, because this building just doesn't match or go along with anything along the street. It doesn't go with anything downtown. So we're thinking we're gonna get a better corner feature there. This is the spot right here where they're gonna be adding on this one right here. And then the little outdoor dining. And here's your elevation. So they the tenant wanted them to raise this up and make a bigger corner feature out of it, but they've already got this cornice at the top here that wraps around the corner a little bit, and so it just didn't make sense to push it up there. And with the nails and spa, and you bring this one down as well and use the same brick color, I think it's gonna help tie the whole center a little bit better together. They're gonna do the fabric awning just like the nail and spa, and then they'll do a hard awning over the patio. So you can see here on the side, they're gonna add these windows. Currently, there's no windows in there. The only thing that I think would look better, and you can see it in this elevation here, the top elevation a little bit easier. The end, Center State Bank, we tucked them into the lower windows, and to kind of give that a little more historic look where you had a base under your windows rather than this look. I think I think this would help here, and they've done it on the side, if you look at the bottom elevation. And I'm sure it's that way in the patio area. So I just think it would help balance the building.
The challenge, though, is when you have seating up front like that, then you're looking at underneath tables and things of that nature. So
Yeah.
it does help conceal a little stuff that maybe you don't want to see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that, but, I mean,
Okay, all right. Looking at that let's see, that's the east elevation.
from here.
No, that's west, the top one, top east. The new addition looks like it's got a rooftop unit that, at least from this view, is.
Yeah, we'll have to talk to them about that. That's gonna have to be, they're either gonna have to put that on the ground or on one of the other units where it's,
Right.
where it doesn't have a,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. Very good. So we'll look at exterior elevations and materials. I guess we need to do a site plan for them and then
Landscape.
landscaping. Okay. Okay, any questions about,
Did you get my message about the center state sign? Officer Schroeder?
Yes, and it's changing because the bank changed, and they're gonna address that when they get there. They think it was the bolts, actually.
Okay, I had called Brett this week or last week because the center state sign is running and you can see rust on the white brick from the sign. So I think it's just something to, I don't know enough about signs, but it looked horrible.
Yeah,
And
it looks pretty rough, and the signs are aluminum, so I know it's not that.
Okay.
And so we're assuming that it's one of the bolts, didn't get stainless steel, or, because they usually use stainless steel bolts.
right?
So one of them, or the anchor, or something wasn't rust-proof.
Okay.
So they'll
Fix that when they
fix that
change
up
out
when
the
they
sign.
change them, yeah,
Yeah,
Okay,
because they told us when they came in, they're like, this sign's only going to be, I mean, they knew then that it was going to be
yeah.
okay. Any other questions about
coming down.
Stonewalk 2? All right. There being none, I'll adjourn the workshop session. Let's go get our coffee cups filled and let's get going in just a couple minutes, please.
Okay.
All right, with our public hearing. Okay. Okay. All right. Rock and roll. All right, Miss Lauren, give me the thumbs up when you're ready or when we're ready to. Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the City of Alpharetta's Design Review Board public hearing. Today is Friday, July 16th, 2021. Glad you're here this morning. All right, our first order of business is roll call. So we do have a quorum. We are missing Mr. Brown. Roger Brown is gone. Pat Corkle is gone. Tom McCain, one of our alternates, is gone, but we still have Kim Matherly with us this morning. So thank you for joining us. It's been a while, Kim, since we've we've had you. So, and thank you for the rest of the board members to be here this morning. So we do have a quorum, and we can proceed with the public hearing. A gentle reminder for everyone: if you'll turn off your electronic devices or silence them, please. And then let's stand. We will face the flag and have the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you for that. Next is any items from staff this morning. So I'm looking at Brett and Lauren. Nothing, no? They're thinking. Any birthdays, any anniversaries, any
I don't think so this
news?
month.
Okay,
I don't think so.
very, very good. All right. Any items from board members this morning? Glad you're here. Glad to see your smiling faces. Miss Rocco, I understand you're going to be the incoming president of the Alpharetta Rotary Club, so congratulations. So you've got 11, so you're president-elect.
Yes,
Okay,
president-elect, which is fun.
very good. Very good. Well, congratulations. So I know that's well-deserved. Okay, anything else from board members this morning? None? Okay. All right, our next item of business is to approve our June 18th, 2021 Design Review Board meeting minutes. Lauren has taken copious notes of these minutes, so a lot to look at, but I think it covers everything. I say it covers almost everything we talked about or discussed during last month's meeting.
Took me an hour and a half to read it.
Very, very good.
I don't think you missed anything.
Wonderful, thank you, guys.
And I move that we accept the meeting minutes from June.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Owens, a second by Ms. Rocco. Any comments or questions about the minutes or about the motion? There being none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of approving the City of Alpharetta's Design Review Board meeting minutes of June 18th, 2021, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All opposed, no opposition. Motion passes. Minutes are approved 6-0. All right, very good. Thank you for that. And thank you, Lauren, for that. Okay, our first applicant this morning is Crabapple Landscape. Are you here? Come on down, please, or come on up, please. We'll ask that you introduce yourself this morning, speak into the microphone, and then give us an overview of what we have in our packages today.
Okay, good morning. My name is Paul Frank. I'm with App and Signs, 319 North Main Street. And I'm requesting a permit for a sign and monument, cedar monument post for Crabapple Landscaping at 72 Marietta Street. Basically, it's a very simple post and panel type sign. It's a double sided HDU sign, painted green, red, and black, just standard colors. It stands about 6.5 feet high, and it's 10 foot from the road. It's equal in distance from the road from the property right next to it, which is, I think you discussed a minute ago, has that iron hanging sign, that real estate sign. So it'll be in line with that. So obviously being a landscaping company, they've agreed to do the landscaping without a problem, and they define that. So basically, that's it.
Okay, very good. One question we did have during the workshop session is the landscaping around the sign irrigated?
I do not know the answer to that. I've already texted them and called, but I haven't gotten a response yet.
Okay,
I do not believe there's irrigation on that property. So obviously, being a landscaping company, they're going to take care of it.
I would certainly hope so.
Yes. I mean, they need to have an image for the company. So I don't know if there's irrigation there, and I doubt if there was from the previous tenant. So
Well, I know that they're a landscaping company, but I find it odd that they're doing black-eyed Susans, because in the winter, that goes away.
Yeah.
And it's just the boxwoods.
Well, then they'll plant pansies.
Well, but those still need to be watered more than anything, the little ones. The
Yeah.
boxwoods will be fine. It's
It's-
whatever else they put in there.
It's possible that is simply something that's reflective of having a flower there at that time of year.
Well, no, they
you could put
specifically say six boxwood.
season-appropriate landscaping.
Yeah.
They
They would
say
agree to
six
that.
boxwood,
And,
$70.
and that's something that they would also likely change out during the year so that they would have something seasonal, because again, I'm not here to read their minds, but, I would expect that certainly they're gonna keep it watered. And also, if, with the black-eyed Susan there, they would probably not let that be an empty ground space during the winter.
They're going to use this for their customer service building and sales. So they're going to be bringing customers into it to, be a showroom for them. So they're going to want to have something nice out there.
Yeah, I
They'll
mean,
most likely plant fall flowers. I mean,
Yeah,
I have
they will
commercial
definitely
properties
do seasonal.
in
And if you want to put that in the,
I think it's,
Yeah, but my
I think we-
black-eyed
Well,
Susans, I
planting,
can't plant
that's fine.
But
flowers
in the
everywhere
winter,
they're
you
planted.
turn the irrigation off and pansies live, you never water them all winter long, so.
I know, but where my black-eyed Susans are, I can't plant anything. over them.
Oh, I see what you're
You
saying.
can't, mine don't, I mean, because you can still see it. I don't know,
let's
I
call
just
for,
it's
I think
odd.
if we call for seasonal color in that bed along with the evergreens, then they've got to plant something
Okay,
They
for
will.
the seasons.
We are going to see pansies in there without even asking them. Some pansies or something else to keep it colorful.
yeah.
okay.
Okay.
I mean, normally, we would want to see evergreen landscaping around a monument sign,
And
right?
for-
But being it's a landscaping company, I would hope that they would maintain the
Yeah.
color.
Yeah. I mean, I like the sign. I think it's a nice looking sign.
That's a good point, Frank, about the evergreen.
Yeah.
Because the evergreen is framing in on either side, it gives them the option to change out things that are more colorful inside. And the evergreen would then complement that.
Yes.
Can you just, in the motion, say something about,
Maintaining,
yeah,
It's easy, yes, yep,
okay. We ready?
yes.
All right, Mr. Chairman, in regards to DRB 210036, I would like to make a motion that we approve the signage and landscape that was presented today with the requirement that they keep the landscaping beautiful and green and watered. And
I'm sure
motion.
they'll agree with that.
Okay, tell Michelle, Katie said that she's got to water that.
Green and watered is in the motion. All right, do I have a second?
I second.
All right, a second by Mr. Owens. We have a motion by Ms. Rocco, a second by Mr. Owens. Any comments or questions about the motion on the floor? There being none, before I do that, I need to call for, do we have any public comment on this application? Anybody in the general public want to make a comment about this application? All right, there being, with the silence, I say there's no public comment. All right, now we can take a vote on the motion. So all in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All opposed, no opposition. Motion passes 6-0. All right, Frank, thank you very much. Appreciate your time this morning.
Appreciate your time.
Okay. Our next applicant this morning is 6360 North Point Parkway. It's the old Fuddruckers. So Kim, I'm going to ask you if you'll step outside for us, since you didn't participate
A minute.
a couple months ago in this application, and we'll, if you'll introduce yourself this morning, speak into the microphone, and then give us an overview of what we have in our packet, please.
Good morning. My name's Ridley Haley. I'm the landscape architect for the project. The scope includes removal of the existing trees in the parking lot, which are currently heavily sheared foster hollies. They've also been topped, so they're not providing any kind of canopy for the parking lot, and they're particularly unattractive. And then we are also bringing the landscape up to code around the parking lot with a double row of 24-inch high screening. All the frontage is staying the same at this point. All the trees are remaining along the frontage as well. The only tree removal is in the parking lot islands, and we're replacing each of those with a 2-inch caliper tree.
Okay, there was some discussion I know about during, things just went blank on our monitors. There we go. Some discussion about the consistency of the landscaping and the tree plantings. Can you just kind of walk us through the landscape plan and in some of the planting areas, what the new trees are? I think you had some black gums or sweet gums or something that you were using originally.
Yes, that was the critique last time we were here. Is actually, since we're not doing any new trees along the frontage, there's actually less consistency with the trees. Because of the code, we can't exceed, you probably know this, we can't have more than 25% of one species. And with the 7 or 9 trees we have, if we have 2 of one kind of tree, that exceeds 25%. So in order to help that, we've done a few different varieties of maples and a few different varieties of elms and grouped those together. And then we've also located the new maples by the frontage where the existing maple trees are. So in the I guess that'd be the southwest corner, all the maples are in one area by the monument.
Okay.
We've grouped the elms together, and then the rest is they're individual trees.
Okay. And then some of the discussion I recall from our last meeting was there is no tenant for this location. Do you have a tenant now?
Our client does have a tenant, yes.
All right. Okay. And do you see anything happening potentially to the building at this point for the new tenant? You do? Okay.
That's completely out of my scope. They're handling that separately through an architect.
Okay. Very good. All right.
Changing the landscaping, or are they aware of this request for landscape?
Yes.
The tenant, they're aware of it?
We have only been talking with the project manager.
Sure.
I can't tell you with a 100% certainty.
Oh,
I would
yeah.
assume that they're saying, yes, we're fixing the landscape before you move in.
Okay.
Let me address a point that was brought up before. I realize, as Mr. Haley describes, you've got a limitation in the variety of the trees you can use. And looking at the arrangement of the trees, I don't see any concern over where they're going to sit because you've got this site surrounded by mature trees that are going to have a lot of canopy. And the variety of the trees will add some interest. I assume you're using the columnar hornbeam back there by the dumpster so that it doesn't spread and cover up stuff and get conflicted with the truck.
Yes.
There is a narrow space where you have the elm tree on the left side of the plan. Are you comfortable that I would not be comfortable with the narrowness of that traffic island giving the tree enough space, even though it's adjacent to a larger area? It looks like that needs more ground area for the tree. Did you think about that along the way?
We did. The tree that's there is unattractive as it is healthy. Ideally, we would, if with permission, we would like to move it outside of the island, just on the backside, among that double row of shrubs. We didn't want to get in any conflicts as far as needing to enlarge the parking lot island to meet the minimum square footage requirement. So we thought it would be okay just to do a one-for-one replacement, put the new tree in the exact same spot as the old tree. But if we wanted to move it back into the strip area, that would be a good solution.
That would be my suggestion, to move it back where you have more room and just give the space back to the parking lot. As a shade tree, that elm will get some cover over the parking lot, even if it's out of the line, but I know we're violating the number of spaces per tree if we do that.
Brett, will you just, on your plan, can you circle the tree that we're talking about so that everybody is aware of?
No, it's the one to the left of that, right there.
Okay, so that's the Princeton elm that you're talking about. So, and Richard, you're suggesting that gets moved out into the double row?
Either move it out or let the owner give up enough space so that they have at least 200 square feet for that tree.
Gotcha. Well, is there ample parking to give up a parking space? I think it helps break up the park. I mean.
Oh, it does, yeah. It's just, as it sits now, the better option is to widen the space for the tree to shade that side of the parking lot. Because we're just restricting the health and growth of the tree if we don't.
Gotcha.
I understand. But enlarging the island, if we were given the option, we'd like to move the tree back and not enlarge the island, because then that opens up a whole can of worms as far as restriping the parking lot. And we're really, it's kind of a mess out there, and we're trying to get the landscape back in order without getting into that extent of work.
Has the new striping been done yet?
I don't know. I don't believe they're planning
Yeah.
on new striping or new islands, anything along those lines.
All right.
Well, you just take up that width that's there and take up one parking space, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't have to restripe. Yep.
Well, it's in the middle of two spaces.
I know, but you just take up the
We
one
can make it,
space.
we can make it a
Yeah.
compact space, yeah.
I mean, it seems like, and we ask that parking lots be broken up
Oh,
every
yeah,
so often.
Yeah, that's,
So that you don't get the long run.
that's a
of parking.
standard, of course. That would be my suggestion about enhancing this plan and in order to receive approval for it.
Okay.
You said 200 square feet, is that?
That's the minimum right now standard
That's
for
what you need, right?
a parking lot island. And it looks like a parking space usually is about 300, well, what is that parking space? If it's 9 feet wide by
9 by
18 deep?
Plus the size of the existing island,
Yes.
right? So you have one space plus the size of the existing island
Right.
should get you there, right?
So, yes, I mean, if it's 9 by 20, that's 180 square feet plus the,
I don't do that.
so you would get the 200 square feet easily. Okay. And then the thought along North Point Parkway is not to disturb any of the existing trees along there. And there is no sidewalk along there.
No, sir. It's just mulch.
Okay. All right, any other questions, comments about the landscaping enhancements or changes? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we, regarding, where's my numbering here? Regarding DRB 210026, that we approve the proposed landscape with the understanding that the planting space for that elm on that west side, or is that the south side? That's south side, excuse me. That tree island be enlarged to at least the minimum required by code.
End of motion.
End of motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Second.
Oh, can
All
I
right.
ask you a question?
Hold on a second, let's see. So we have a motion by Mr. Owens, a second by Ms. Palmer. All right, discussion, comments? Yes.
Just a question. If we're getting into site work, do we need to apply for additional permits other than a landscape?
As long as you're staying under 1,000 square feet of moving, which that, just adding that parking lot island won't require it.
So just a landscape permit? Okay. Okay.
Okay, very good. And then I'll ask for, are there any public comments about this application? All right, no public comment at this point. So any other comments or questions about the motion on the floor? There being none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All opposed, no opposition. Motion passes 5-0. Very good. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Okay, our next applicant is going to be Lazy Dog. Are you here? Come on down, all right? And with that, then I'm going to ask Ms. Palmer to excuse herself.
I'm excusing myself.
Okay,
Plug in right there at the podium if you
Right.
want. That stuff you can set on the floor, or
We put it in the chairs?
you can put it in the chairs, yep.
thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Just one moment, let me get set up here.
Okay.
That email that I sent with those images.
All right, for the record, both Kim Matherly and Holly Palmer have excused themselves. So it'll be the four of us. We have a quorum, so we can
Yes.
continue. All right, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, good morning.
Here we- Okay. Let's see.
All right, good morning, welcome, and if you'll make sure you introduce yourselves, speak into the microphone, and then review what we have in our packet today, please.
Good morning. My name is Jared Taylor. I have associates here with me, which we'll introduce in a moment. We're here on behalf of Lazy Dog Restaurant. We wanted to thank you for hearing us here again today being our third time before you. We put a lot of work into addressing the comments that have been provided to us to be in compliance with the North Point Zone finishes, the materials, the landscape, really bringing that harmony and the cohesiveness, which we understand that you're looking for. So that's what we're here to talk about today. We wanted to start out by initially just going into the landscape. Landscape, really over the last 2 years that we've been working on for this project to kind of have the similar plant palette with the surrounding shopping center and Chick-fil-A. That's been a big deal for us, and we understand for you all as well. So what we did for landscape is we took your advice and we went out and we hired Steve Manley Architects, also the Chick-fil-A landscape architect. They've gone through our package in quite a bit, and taking into account the comments that you provided in the last hearing as well. So we have a representative here from Steve Manley Architects that's going to be able to talk about just really these last few tweaks and changes that we've made to be in full compliance on the landscape. Before we do that, I also wanted to just make a point to say that we've done some additional homework and due diligence and reached out to Placemaker Designs, and we've been working with Tim Baccaro for consulting review of the package, which we're going to present to you here today as well. And he's provided his input, which has been incorporated into this package. And lastly, we have MSI Morrison Shear is our proposed general contractor who's here today as well on behalf of the project. So we're really bringing a totally local team to you, and we know that's a big deal. So if we can, let's take a moment first. I'm going to invite a representative from Steve Manley Architect up, come and talk about what we've done here on the landscape. I don't know, are you guys able to see what's on my screen?
Yes, we are.
Okay, perfect. I don't know if you want to zoom in or how you want to do this, but take it away.
All right. My name is Michael Bozeman. I'm with Manley Land Design. I'm filling in for Steve. From what I understand, there were only a couple concerns or comments dealing with landscape, and one of those being some more evergreen type plant material to replace a few, as well as some more shade loving. And so we had substituted 4, 5, 6 different plant materials, all of which are evergreen. So we also tied in some of the plant material that was used at the Chick-fil-A site into this site to kind of bring those two properties together. So
So Michael, with your pointer, can you show us where those have been done on the landscape plan, please? Or your cursor or whatever you've got there to, there we go, or the hand.
Touch screen also if you want to zoom in.
Yeah, I need to do this. Where's the other sheet?
So it would be just down arrow right there.
Okay. One of the plants that was replaced was the red twig dogwood, and that was replaced with the Oregon grape holly, which you can see are the purple symbols here. The next plant that we replaced was the juniper, the blue star juniper, with the holly fern. And you can see that
I think it might be best if you just walk us through all of it. Last time, we didn't have Steve at all, so we didn't really go through this particular plan at all. So they've seen it on paper and in their electronic, but they've never really heard an explanation of the theme and the whole, how the sites work together and things like that. Excuse me, things like that. So I think it might be best if we just walk 360 around the building of the landscape plan for the board. I think that'd be better than we replace this one with that, because that's going to rely on them to remember what the last one was. So I think that'd be best.
Yeah, if you're good with that, you want to talk about the harmonious materials with the surrounding site too.
okay. So the truth is I'm not familiar with the previous plan as far as.
So let's not worry about previous then. Just go through what you're presenting.
So I'm just basing this off the comments that were made, and those were the fact that there's those two big, large oaks out there that are providing a lot of shade, and there was some current concerns of the previous plan having some material that may not survive because of that. So that's where I personally stepped in, and that's why these pieces that I'm presenting now were replaced with what.
So you're not familiar with the entire plan?
The truth is no. I've gone through it. I'm just talking about what we had made the changes since the previous meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I guess it is what it is. We'll see how it shakes out.
Can you run through just the palette of materials that we have here on the plant list? Can you go through that and just kind of point out where these are here? It's on the plant list.
Okay. So the idea, based on what we've done, is that from the sidewalk, we wanted to layer it with different textures and wanted to step it up. So as it got closer to the building, it would, go up in size. A lot of the, as I said, a lot of the stuff along the sidewalk there is lower to the ground. And as I also said, some of the material that you will see on here, like the Mahonia, you would find at the Chick-fil-A along the sidewalk there as well. Some of the Montebreda was pulled out of the heavily shaded areas so that they would thrive a little bit more. As far as that's.
It's a bit of a complicated plan.
It's
with
a
lots
very
of plants
complicated plan.
and lots, and I'm trying to, I think this is where
Yeah,
Brett was going, trying to figure out what the plants are, because I'm looking for a legend that says the little green circle is this and the big green circle is that, and I'm having a hard time.
Do you see, when he zooms up, the line points to, like, the spiders the spider-looking things is a north wind.
Well, on some of them it does, but then I have to look up top and then remember what,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's, they're all called out at some point.
Yeah, They're called out around the building. They're called out here as well. I mean, there is a lot here, and you know, the landscape is really a big part of the architecture for the Lazy Dog building. The Lazy Dog restaurant experience really starts when the customer kind of steps onto the curb here, and they go through this garden area, and there's essentially sitting benches, which are, I don't know if you can see, but I'm zooming in here, sitting bench, and another sitting bench that I'm zooming in on right here. And so it's this complete landscape palette. And Lazy Dog is really based out of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. It's providing this Rocky Mountain dining theme. And so when we initially came to Alpharetta, that was the landscape palette. And we've made significant changes. I believe we have, it's either 7 or 9 landscape palette species now that are a part of the surrounding shopping center parking lot and Chick-fil-A to provide that uniformity of landscape palette. And so we definitely have thinned out the landscape materials. There's significantly less material here than was previously presented to you, and we've changed those materials over to be more evergreen, as that was a previous request to make sure that there was not just going to be seasonal materials and have essentially a dead stick look. We're not going to have that. So I guess we can go around the building, and you have the plan as well, and we can show you what's in each location. And then we've got Dwayne Mitchell here from Lazy Dog Restaurant. They can talk a little bit more about it.
Well,
Let me,
just insert really quick too. I don't think we're opposed to the lushness of it. I think like a photo of what it's going to look like would be nice, because we're just seeing colorful dots, so it's hard to grasp the feeling of it. Is that correct?
Here we go.
Would be more convenient.
So here
There you go.
are photos of plant materials, and I've got one more page of this, and then we can also look at the color elevation renderings, which have the landscape essentially translucently imposed on them. So, I mean, we can look at each of these species. If you want, we can look at where they are located in the landscape plan design. And then you can see some of our entry pot materials. Here's the benches I was just talking about earlier, the stone benches that really tie into the architecture, the use of stone, your stone that we're using on the building now as well. And I'm going to go down to the next page. We have some additional grasses and plant palette material here. And then if you like, I can go to elevations and look at those really quick as well. Would that help now?
well, let me make a general observation
Sure.
before we move on. I was pleased with the interest and the creativity of the original planting plan, because in this culture, we, over the years, too many people have used green meatballs to create something. They're not interesting. And sadly, they become more green meatballs as they go along. And they become little bowling balls out in the landscape. So what we saw earlier was a good representation of something that's not that at all. Because when we go to other parts of the country, we find a different plant palette that is more seasonal and oftentimes more deciduous, when too many landscapes around here just rely on evergreen things that don't change.
Yeah.
So what I see here now is a good answer to our concern there from the beginning. And it's also worth noting how the Manley office has taken 2 plans to present this planting plan, one for trees and one for shrubs, so that everything can be read. And this is going to be a fun, dynamic place to see. So let me turn it back to you for more description.
Creating interest. You're exactly right. We want to be just a little bit different. We want to spark that interest of the customer to make them come to this restaurant and patronage it. We want it to be something that you, the city, are proud of. And the landscape is so integral to the architecture. And we're going to get into that here in a second and show you those elevations. Our goal here in the presentation today, to be totally honest, is we put so much work into this landscape with Steve Manley's office as well, that our goal here is to be able to get you to say, yes, you've done it. The landscape is there. Let's move on and talk about the architecture. That's what we'd like to do, but we can continue the conversation as a whole as well.
I don't think unless you guys want to talk more about the landscape, I don't think there's a lot that needs to be said about it. I mean, we could talk about it, and we could talk about it for more understanding, but everything we wanted to see is there. So I don't know that we need to do a lot of that.
If I may, I'm Dwayne Mitchell, Director of Design and Construction with Lazy Dog. And I did the last presentation here, and to your point, everything seemed to be pretty good, except I believe you and another other council member may have had a concern with the shading from the oak trees and then addressing that, which these guys have done for us. So everything else was pretty well received and so on with what we've done before. So what we've done is address the shading there, and I think that's, you know, all I wanted to say was everything was pretty good. We need to address the plants under the shading of there, and I think that we've done that. And to your point, we're kind of excited about this palette because this is going to be one of the better ones we've got.
Good. I don't know that I need to see any more. I mean,
No, I think-
it's colorful, and I think they've done a good job of, Pat had the comments last time on the landscaping. They've enhanced it and listened to them, so.
Yeah, while you were talking, I was kind of refreshing my memory here, looking through
Thank
and
you.
looking at the plants. So
We were right there.
I'm kind of
last
catching
time.
up.
I
So
think you
it's,
got
it's a great variety of plants, I think. It should have a lot of visual interest, so
Okay. Well,
I'm comfortable with it after I spent a few minutes here kind of refreshing my memory as to what the various plants were.
okay.
All right.
We
So-
appreciate that then.
so
We'll move on,
That's
and
what
we
we
can
move
come
on.
back to landscaping if you like in a little bit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. All right, yeah, let's talk about the architecture of the building then.
Absolutely.
Materials and elevations.
So this is something, oh my gosh, we put so much work into, looking at the eco-district architecture, trying to be North Point, trying to be a part of it, right? Really focusing on what you guys have given us and how we can comply, how we can change our design. So we really wanted to focus in on some of these highlighted items here. Defining materials to include the brick, the stone, two materials which you're going to see here in a little bit, and I can bring these up, that we are using from your palette. These are your materials. These are what we're proposing on our building to match. We've changed our materials. Lazy Dog Restaurant, we've got over 40 locations. This doesn't happen. You guys are special. We are going way out of our way for the city of Alpharetta. We know you need it. We want to make it happen. We want to incorporate. We obviously have been to design review board hearings many times before. We've never gone this far before. This is the furthest we've ever gone to be in total compliance. So I hope you please understand that. Sloped roofs should be minimal, but if present, architectural shingles or standing seam metal use should be used. Another highlighted thing. That's exactly what we're doing. Standing seam metal roof, just a little bit on the tower. Color palette using earth tones and natural tones. We've changed the building color to again use a color that is from your palette. And I'm going to go to the next slide here. Again, this is from the design criteria provided, the brick. There's not a spec on this. It's just, can you match it the best you can? We've asked for the spec. And so this is the very closest that we can get to it. Moving on. Again, brick here. And you can see kind of the elevations, the color, the way the buildings are set up, and the criteria provided to us. Here, we wanted to point out where we're getting these new building colors from. There's the new Lazy Dog building color that we're actually trying, I mean, what do we have to use here? It's this mural, right? So we're pulling a color out of that to use on our building over the stucco. We previously did that with the blue. It wasn't liked last time, so we've changed it to the toned down natural color. Moving on, other things of compliance. Core 10 steel planters. We are using those around the patio. Those are your planters. We are in conformance there. The brick, again, the exact brick from your palette. We are using your brick. It's on the tower. It's on the building. It's the wainscot. It's the whole thing. We're fitting in. This is our goal. Moving on one more. Come on. Okay, I just wanted to take a second to just go through everything that we've done over the last 2 years. Obviously, this process has been much longer than all of us would like, and it's because we're a restaurant and there was COVID, and that changed everything for restaurants. So we've added the Core 10 steel planters. We've added window fenestration to the east elevation. This was, a while back we did that. We've added the brick and wood to two sides of the trash enclosure. We're spending a ton of money on dressing up that trash enclosure. We know that's an important elevation, and trust me, I've got a lot more coming that you're going to see about that. We've added the brick to the building. We've changed the building colors to match the palette. We've changed our stone to match the town stone. This is the first. This has never been done before. We've changed all the building signage to be in compliance with the new sign program. We've heavily modified the landscaping, so many rounds of modifying landscaping to fully comply with the town's requirements. We've modified landscape area width on the north side of the building multiple times. Initially, there was just kind of like a not good info on that. It was going to have to be thinner, then we can make it wider, so that's what we did. And we've hired the local landscape architect, the Chick-fil-A landscape architect, as well as consulting with Placemaker Design and Morrison Shear General Contractor. So I just want to give a background on how much we have put into this. So here we are on color building elevations. So this is really important. We know the east elevation, this is a big deal. I want to focus on, you can see the 2 oak trees shown here. You can see that we've moved down the sign on the elevation. Sorry, come on. What is going on here? Sorry, where is this? West elevation. This thing's crazy on me. Oh my gosh.
I have the same problem. Sometimes when you zoom, it jumps pages.
Yeah,
Yes.
I really don't like this new PDF.
You got to go back
program.
to the.
Yeah.
All right, so we've moved down the sign here. You can see, so it's essentially going to be under the oak tree, below the oak tree.
All right, Jared, which elevation are you talking about?
So this is the east elevation.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
The east elevation is super important, and we have a full 3D perspective walk around of the building we're going to share with you as well. Perspective is such a big deal here when it comes from the pedestrian, the vehicular perspective, right, of what you're going to see. So again, we've lowered the sign. We're using your stone and brick. Per the previous comments in the existing oak trees, they are providing a lot of shade. There is a lot there. I know the tower is something that's been talked about a lot in the past, and I want to point out here, the tower is almost going to be gone just with this oak tree. But again, this is an elevation. Once we get into the perspective, which you're going to see in a little bit, something really happens where the tower actually can't be seen from the pedestrian or the vehicular perspective of walking through the right-of-way. The tower is totally inboard to the project. It's facing the interior, right? It's the parking lot. This is our one thing that we're asking for. This is the one thing, just like the landscaping, that's not just the little green blobs. It's not just like every other building. We're doing everything about our building to be like every other building. We're just asking for this 5 to 10% of our building to be different, to have this identity, to have something that I remember the first time I walked into Lazy Dog Restaurant, and there's the angle of the tower, and there's the angle of the doors as you walk in, and it makes you stop and say, "What? This is different." And it actually catches you in a happy place. And it makes you remember, and it makes you want to come back. And it carries through to the interior of the restaurant. The interior of the restaurant with all this natural wood, beams, trusses overhead, trellises. It's freaking beautiful inside. And we have photos of that we can share here in a little bit as well. Like I said before, once you step off the curb, you go through the landscape, the benches, to the tower, into the restaurant, we're taking you into the Rocky Mountains. We're taking you and your family on a vacation without having to leave town. That's the plan here. And we have a Tex-Mex dish, so you can have that too. Anyway.
Okay, Jared, let's do this. You've got the east elevation up.
Yes.
I see a materials board.
Yes.
So let's walk through the east elevation where each of the materials are.
Certainly.
And it may take Dwayne to help you out with pointing things out while you're talking. Let's go from the ground up. How about that?
Okay.
On what we've got.
So let me start here. You can see the stone going around here, right? You can see my cursor. So that's the stone.
Okay, all right.
All right. Then you got the stucco here, stucco going across here. Sorry, I'm just doing the big stuff first. So stucco.
Okay. That's
all right.
And the comment was, last time I was here.
And Dwayne, if you'll speak into the microphone, or maybe you turn that other one on down there. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry. Just to refresh memory, this was the color that we proposed last time I was here, and the comment was, let's get lighter on the building. So I just wanted to show you that
Okay, very good.
revision was made.
All right.
Then we've got wood trellis along here. So this is over the windows, the wood trellis. And then we've got wood over here. And then this is the darker wood on the trash enclosure.
No, that's our brick.
Oh, sorry, the brick, excuse me. The brick on the trash enclosure.
This is the North Point spec brick.
Yep. And then around the sign in here, Dwayne?
That's brick.
That's the brick.
And that's the dark brick you're pointing, that brick, okay.
Yes, sir. And then the tower there that he was just around the brick where the sign is, that's the rock that matches.
Oh.
We couldn't find a spec off the North Point spec, but this palette matches all the photos and the information that we had on it. really change the dynamics of the building by adding this brick instead of our Lazy Dog color palette.
Okay,
So,
all right, and then the parapet cap, what is that?
The Parapet Cap is this real deep burgundy, we'll call it a raspberry, but it's real deep color.
Oh, so it's not the grayish looking color that's on the screen right now. That looks more gray than your burgundy.
Oh, it is showing up a little bit gray, isn't it? Yeah, it's different on that.
here's something else we wanted to show you. Here you are coming to the east elevation, coming around the building. From the perspective, the tower's gone. You can see the materials. You can see the wood right here on the back of the service yard. Here we are coming to the parking lot view here. Here's the front door, the tower coming into perspective. And here we are coming around the patio, the fire pit in the patio. We can do it again if you like, and stop at any point.
Let's just show the comparison on the elevations to another point on that.
Okay, yeah. So I wanted to just share that with you really quick. We can come back to this also.
All right, so hold it right there.
Oops, shoot, sorry.
All right, stop, all right. Looking at those looking at the three pillars,
You're talking
or
about
three
here.
areas, those three areas, that's different on the elevations that we've got in our package.
So we
Because
did rent,
it-
you're talking about the materials essentially?
I think, all right, your intent there, and those, I'll call those three, between the three pilasters or those bay areas, is the dark brick,
Sorry, hang on a second.
there we go.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's an awning or something that's over there.
You're talking about
Yes.
this?
What's the little, where the X's are, those four
Oh,
X box?
those are openings essentially.
Those are openings into the service yard. Those will be louvers or a wire mesh. Those will be a blacked out wire mesh for the opening into circulation for the service yard.
It's non-conditioned space in there. Instead of having a freestanding trash enclosure out in the parking lot,
Okay.
get trash across your parking lot to get there, we're putting it up against the building, or we're putting architecture on it, and it's a lower roof height, so it's essentially breaking up the building in articulation, and you're having all these different finished materials. If you come here to, here's the north elevation, here's the other side of it, so there's the wood in the middle, the stone on either end, and again, here's these openings, these X's, right? So those are gonna have louvers essentially on them just to keep the rain out, but it's free flow, air flow through, I can't talk through there. It has a full roof over it as well.
We have the water heaters in there. We have the RTI Greek containment in there. We have the trash enclosure in there. We'll have the CO2 in there. Deliveries will go in there. So instead of this just being in an open service yard, we spend quite a bit of money in protecting not only the product, but creating a dynamite look for a service yard element. What's cool about this one as well is the wall sconces that go around the perimeter on those pillars. You'll have this very warm glow, as another layer behind that landscape onto the building.
Sounds like you're not quite sure what you're going to cover those openings with, though. Louvers, mesh, exactly what that's
No,
going to
it's
look like
it's a
at
wire
this point.
mesh. The last color board that I brought last time was mounted actually on that mesh, but it's a tight 1x1 grid wire mesh black in a metal frame.
Just flat.
Yep.
Flat mesh, okay.
And it's recessed in. The CMU wall's 8 inches thick, and then it's centered in there with a black frame, and it's got the wire mesh painted out.
Which sample is that wood at the top? Which one is that? Because it looks
Wood
like.
across the
Dark,
top.
the dark wood is this one that you see
So
on that elevation.
that's the dark wood in the middle, right? And then up here, Dwayne, across the top.
That's this one, the top one.
That one to me is the one that seems, with this color palette, I like the color palette, and staff did too, quite a bit better than the last one, but we still felt like that one kind of set it off still more in that, just didn't feel like the area and the building, it's a little orangey feeling. I know you haven't changed that one from before, but it just, that one kind of stood out to us. We went more, you got more browns and mints now, and
I could change it to a little bit more blonde. Because trust me, I don't want it to stain like that, holding us up or anything like that. If it's a condition of something like that, I can certainly go to the blonde. It just set it off a little bit, set off the trim, work on it a little bit. That's all. But
where else on the building
Yep.
is that particular?
So it's up on the top of the tower.
it's on the tower. It frames the kickers in most of the areas, and the overhang, the little eyebrow that we have and so forth. It's just an accent, like you would much use on a soldier course, kind of a roll-off with brick. It's taken the place of that with the wood.
Where's the blonde used? Is it blonde or, on the building?
The blonde is usually on the interior on the patio.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So basically, all the wood trim we're seeing on the outside, for the most part, is the top one.
Yes, sir.
Where's the darker one then?
It's
The
on
darker
this
one was on
yard.
that rear elevation. It's actually some right in there also,
Nope,
but
it was, sorry.
you can circle
yeah,
those areas.
here.
It's in those areas, and then you go to the back elevation if you want. And it's in that insert right there.
So the wood panels, basically.
Here, and then Dwayne, is this it here also, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So that's the darker wood stain panels?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think it's a great contrast.
at the
off
bottom of
off
your-
the stone too. I think it's a great contrast. It works with that.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just get,
I like that darker one a lot. We talked about that in our staff meeting, that dark one looked good. We were just,
I'm sorry to interrupt. To your point, that darker wood would be a better alternate to even the blonde.
yeah, all right, I agree
And
too.
I could go with that dark wood on all that trim as well, and I think that would even be
Well,
a better choice.
yeah, I think that'd be a better choice than the
And it kind of throws you too, because some of what you're talking about is the dark stain is really more kind of a brownish red in the renderings, if you follow me.
True,
You know,
yeah.
it's,
The renderings are tough to get right on.
and,
And that's why we have these,
Yeah.
because we can color.
well,
match
that's why we
them.
like, that's why we like to see those.
So if you go dark, it'd pretty much just be the one color stain on everything except for the patio, where you,
Yeah, and then I can
where you're
transition
using
to the
blonde.
patio and go into the lighter
Into the blonde.
shades on our, because we have a TNG on the ceiling and the patio and everything. It looks really
Okay.
cool. Yeah.
Totally agree. Yeah, I like that.
One thing I wanted to point out is this here, which I'm circling, the station. This is the North Point Design Guidelines. We tried to exactly emulate that right down here. This is the same thing.
I think the stone, I love the stone choice. I think that's an improvement. So stone, as far as I'm concerned, stone, you're good. You don't need, I don't think you need to sell that one probably to anybody. I think we're all good on the stone. Can we go back to just the east elevation again? Just let's maybe do
Yeah,
these,
the east elevation is the one on Haynes Bridge, and that's the one that,
Yep.
that one right there. So, I like the sign being brought down. I think it breaks up that panel, plus it, you know.
gonna be neat.
Yeah, so I think that's a good look. I understand what you're doing with the dark brick, trying to bring in the brick from the other building based on some of the comments from last time. I went back and looked at the May elevations, though, and I think especially with the new stone, I think if you stayed with stone in those panels instead of the brick, I would like that better, and I'd even love to see the stone in that stucco area.
You're talking
inside
about
in those little
here?
panels there. You had them stone before with the old stone. I think if these were stone and that stucco panel in the middle of the windows there
Here.
was stone, that's kind of where my head's at. And then we talked about changing the wood color.
at
My thought on
Well,
this.
I kind of
element.
like that. I think and they may have trying to take every comment we made.
Yeah, yeah, no,
incorporate it,
it's-
and sometimes maybe it's a little bit overboard.
It's been tough, to be
Yeah.
honest.
I
Well, the
understand.
advantage of this is that we're able now to see this look and the other look and compare the two, right? And I think with the lighter color palette, with bringing the sign down, with the new stone choice, I think if you kept the stone instead of the brick in those areas, I think that would look good.
Let's let Brett, Scott,
that piece of stucco that you replaced the color on, that one, how's that attached to the back of it? Velcro?
This piece here,
Yeah, is that-
hot glue. I'll tear it off if you want.
What I was gonna say is it would be, if we're not gonna use, or not think about these top stain colors, to maybe move that over, and then all we see is that. But yeah, if you just do that. One more question about materials, the metal you've got there is, no, the gray. That's just stone cap? That's just the
That's
cap
just-
on the stone areas?
Oh, the rain cap?
Or is that a used, because the only place I really see it is the parapet cap on the stone. Is it used anywhere else?
No, this is just a paint, well, I think it's on the service yard, actually. I think it's a paint color on the service yard.
I'm just trying to make sure we got all of the
Oh,
materials and
here.
figuring out where.
All right.
And this is interior.
I think the palette, and we appreciate it from the city too, guys. The palette is a lot better.
Thank you.
trying to.
Just to
Just put a-
be our perspective,
Palette
Don't-
goes much better with what was the existing palette and all the brick and
Right,
stuff at the center, and works a lot nicer with it. Staff kind of agreed a little bit with your, wondering about the brick and the stone thing, but we really like the brick. It's a great addition on the other buildings, and so if that helps tie it all together, that's kind of.
And I hear the commissioner's comments, and greatly appreciate it. We actually had a concept that way, and the building became so heavy with the amount of rock that we felt that if we kept it on the north, that north elevation where we mimicked kind of the North Point design, if you want to go to that one real quick, this piece right here, if we mimic that and got that insert of that black in there with our sign then over that, contrast. We got multiple layers there. You got the landscape in front of that. Just, I think, a very dynamic, very cool piece. But around that service yard,
Brett, can
filling
you-
in those areas instead of the brick, I could do that.
Can you show the May, Brett, can you put up the May picture? I just want the rest of the board members to see what I'm talking about.
if you don't have it, I can get it, Britt.
That would be interesting.
And down to the east elevation there. Yeah. Let's see that, when I look back at this, I kind of liked the stone in those insets.
Just on the trash enclosure is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that.
And then I just thought,
But then I like the way you did the darker brick with the sign.
I do,
and that
yeah, the darker
double-
brick with the sign in there, I like that, yeah. And then I just thought to balance it out, carrying that stone into that stucco area in the middle of the windows, just felt like it balanced it out from left to right for me.
I like the stucco columns though, separating and pulling that brick out, and then with our wood in between, again, this palette here.
Yeah.
Still looks really good.
Is your sign better? What's the background on that sign? I mean, I know you got.
410 steel.
Pull that from the big sign right out front. It's a good job. I was hoping.
We're here. No, we're getting approval
answer.
today, guys.
That's what you were gonna say, because I think that really with the steel and the wood and you bring that Corten from that big
Yeah.
monument. I don't know if you saw that. but
Yep.
There's a huge piece of Corten steel that's going out.
It just fits our theme, and then it works so well with North Point anyway that it was just a no-brainer. It was an easy piece to figure out.
So we need to do some cut and paste.
Yeah, I mean, that was the other,
The east elevation,
We can show you a little bit more just about the presentation we put together in terms of like coordinating with the North Point. As you can tell, we really put a lot of thought and work into this for you guys. Like, we got to get approval from you today. We're doing everything we can.
we appreciate that, so.
yeah. I think we're close. We just, it's going to be a matter of, I'm just kind of down to the brick versus stone as kind of the.
Well, I think
material-wise.
it's thrown whole nother element in here in different areas. It kind of throws it off, doesn't give you good balance and.
Yeah, and I understand why you did it.
I think the rhythm on the service yard is still good with the dark brick in, because I have no problem with these two elements together. I think those are still working. Those are elements in the North Point. It was just how much did we want to get heavy? If it meant, approval today to get the stone in between the columns, then that's fine. I can make that change. I do like the dark brick on this, what the sign is, and the stone around, and then the cord 10. I do like that.
Yeah,
We agree.
I think that whole element could just
I think that's right on.
get
Yeah.
boring.
I think we certainly agree with that, so.
But just to go back, just to show, the metal canopies, we're trying to show the metal canopies. We're using those. We're using the offsets on the parapets. You can see where the station is, where we developed that element in there. The next sheet. And then the red brick, that's what the wood is for, with the red and the warm brick is that wood is still keeping that warmth to that whole palette as well. We're using the dark header, we even extracted even the header out, just to get that beam and just showing that those elements, those continuities were there with the continuity. And then I think if you scroll down lower, it's the, I don't know if I can get it much lower. Just a picture of
there you
the
go.
stone from
Yep.
the north point, you know, we just show it on that. Just to show you that there are elements and the continuity is there.
Okay. While you've got that elevation and looking at the materials board, so you've identified the wood. So we're down to the one color stained wood, yes, the lower color, okay. I know you've identified the two different IFAS colors, the kind of the tannish earth tone, and then I'm gonna call it maroon or burgundy, whatever that is. Now, what's the other one that's closest to you?
Service yard.
And then where does that one going? Where does that color happening?
Oh, that's here, right?
Yeah.
So this is the west elevation facing the parking lot.
Okay, so that's on the west, all right. And then you have that gray, I guess is it a metal or ceramic? Yes, where is
It's a
that material going?
So that's your steel doors.
And it's the
here, right?
doors, trash enclosure doors, the door and door frames.
okay.
Just to pull that out and accent that just a
Okay,
little.
very good. And then the material color or the material immediately below that, where is that going?
Concrete stain color on the patio, just to let you know, we have a transition from just a solid gray concrete, you know, brushroom type finish to a little
Okay.
stain on our patio to keep the warmth in there.
Okay, and then it looks like you have a metal, the red metal sample.
The
What is
red
it?
Burbridge red is the top of the tower, just a standing seam metal roof.
Okay.
Per the North Point, you know, use a standing seam minimally,
Okay.
and that's just on the tower. So that's what that does, is offset that, and it's our window frames.
Okay,
Looks like it's a door too.
Metal door.
Looks
on the
like,
west elevation?
Yeah.
Where you're looking at, Brad?
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, we modified it, a small access door for takeout and delivery out the side.
Okay, that works.
Okay.
Really helps out. Takeout and delivery has gone from 4 or 5% of businesses for restaurants up to 22, 24, 25%.
well.
We've dropped down to, and we've flattened out at about 19% for a takeout. Huge business for restaurants. I think we do a dynamite process with that, which is how we package it and get it out and so on. But so this is just ease for operations to get out, deliver it to the stalls and the back end.
I think that's a COVID change that's here to stay for
It's a
quite a while.
COVID change, it's here to stay, yes, sir.
Okay, you were talking about the tower. Describe to us the tower. Is it lit up at night? Is there signage inside of, is that clear glass? Is it,
I can elaborate on that
Bless.
just a little bit if you want me to, Jared. And I'll work from the top down. The Burbridge Red's very flat. It's not a 4 to 12. It's a very flat standing seam metal roof. You have to be some distance away to even see it. And with the oak trees and where the street levels are and stuff like that, again, you're only going to see this on the interior. But working that way down, the glass is clear glass. There is a incandescent type lamp. It's a LED, but the LED's gone they leaps and bounds with their colors and so on. Very incandescent. You can't see the light. It doesn't spin. It doesn't move. All it does is just the glass panels light up.
it just glows. It's not emanating out.
Yeah,
It's
just
not
glows.
lighting up the surrounding features.
And then down below that, we've changed from the Lazy Dog stone to this stone all the way down. And we've done the canopies with the kicker, the metal kickers to it, to match the urban, or to match the North Point. And then it's a wood storefront and stone all the way to the ground. And then on the entry side of it, we have the two sconces in the entry just to showcase that.
Sconces here, entry. So there's only one door. There's only the door on the entry side.
that looks pretty, that's a pretty low
Going into the
glow.
vestibule.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, like,
It's a little bit brighter.
there's
yeah.
almost more lights down here, but then this one,
You don't have an example of the tower lit up at night, do you?
this one,
I think I do.
dome lit up,
It does, yeah.
so.
So this is Allen, Texas. Here it is right there, lit up at night. I showed you these photos in May of 2020 when we did the virtual hearing.
Real quick, hang on. Can you go back a couple pictures? I got a question.
Tell me when.
It shows right there.
Back one.
Either
Yep.
one. Are you doing the mortared rock or are you doing,
Oh, in between
yeah?
the
That,
dry.
yeah, we usually do a grout. We've done it flat stack, dry stack, excuse me. But we'll do a mortar. That color is not used again. Just FYI, it's too light of a grout.
Yeah.
And so our grout would match the stone.
But you are proposing a grouted rather than,
And it's not the big inch or inch and a half, so we'll do a half-inch grout joint. It's just a little bit more,
can you
indicative
zoom in
to
on
the
that just a
actual-
little bit, Jared?
What's that?
Are you able to zoom in on that just a little bit?
Yeah.
That would be good. So it does give it a little bit different feel than the sample, but I agree,
This
if you
is
go with a
stone.
darker color,
This is a different stone.
yeah, but I think if you go with a darker color of mortar, that's gonna,
If it matches the stone, it doesn't.
yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't pop and doesn't
Yeah.
get it stripy. And that just goes to show you that we've matched more of the stone color.
Yeah.
We don't use the brighter anymore. We went to lighter, or to match it a little bit better.
I think that was a good call.
Yes.
I think the question I was just having is, we've seen some towers here that are almost like a lighthouse or a beacon effect to get somebody's attention. We want to make sure that the light is very, what's the right word? Soft, subtle or soft is probably the best word I can use in that tower.
Yeah, the wall sconces are putting out more light than the tower. I mean, you can easily see into that tower. You don't see the light emanating out of it onto the lower part of the tower.
Well, and we've even had people hang interior signs in that tower to be lit up and to.
If our manager ever did that, call me because he would be fired.
I'm just trying to,
That's not classy at all.
Ice cream cone.
yes.
Oh, what?
We've had bad experiences. We get it. I promise you that's not going to be us.
Burger King or an ice cream cone or something.
No, God, no. But, we've been through this many, many times. And like I said before, for your city, we are bending over backwards. We realize you guys have a higher caliber, which you require, and that's what we have put together and are presenting to you. And I just want to explain,
Well,
like I said,
we appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, we appreciate the comments. We, want to be here.
It's every time that after the restaurant's open and you guys are able to bring your families there, you're going to go to the manager and say, this is fantastic. We enjoy coming here. It's beautiful, the way that architecture from the exterior through the interior flows. It's an experience we are providing. There is no other restaurant chain today that is spending money on real wood inside and out and on these finishes. This is a $6 million building. We're going to hire 200 local employees. This isn't, the big corporate restaurant chain that's value engineering everything to death and just giving you the bare minimum to be able to sell a few burgers. This is better than that. And the food, the service, the building design, the architecture, everything. I guarantee you are going to be proud to have this restaurant in your town.
We appreciate that. While we're looking at the photo on the monitors right now, so signage, we haven't really seen signage. Are we going to see signage?
Well, signage is shown on the building elevations currently.
Okay, and you've got that, we've got some details of that?
They have a sign package.
They have a sign?
Center, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a sign program we have to conform with.
Yeah.
It was just approved.
One
right?
thing that I did have a question about the other pictures that you had while we had those up real
Yeah.
quick. Are you doing any of that ambient lighting, any of the wall wash or anything? Because really the only thing that's shown, I think, on the drawings is just the sconces, but you've got
It's not shown on the drawings.
some
So
under lighting under there, under the canopies and,
I can answer that, yes. Around the perimeter of the building, there's two types of accent lighting that I've interjected into the scheme. Is the landscape lighting. We get the trees, we highlight those, the branches. We'll even project shadows up on the building. It's another dimension that we need. On the kickers, you'll see accent lights on this photo that you see on your screen. You'll see these accent lights. Those are actually on the sides or behind the kickers, and they shine up on the bottom of that eyebrow.
you don't see the light source.
You don't see the light source at all, but you see the accent on the side of the kickers, and then you see it on the bottom of the eyebrow. Those will definitely be on the building, around the perimeter with the sconces.
And that's carried to the interior of the restaurant. When you're sitting in there dining and you're looking at the interior trellises and the way it's lit, I guarantee you're going to be trying to find the light sources, and you're not going to be able to find them. It's pretty impressive the way it comes together.
To your answer, yes, we definitely like to accent the building. We want to bring, the way I describe it to many people is you have a daytime lazy dog and you have a nighttime lazy dog. The dynamics that changes with the landscape in the evening to keep the color on the building with the accenting and lighting up the trees and all the different types of plants, and then having the building lit, you still get that depth, you still get that dynamic. And that's where I think a lot of people lose it with developments and so on, where you just don't have that accent lighting to just showcase your building. Walking up to a building that's dim and a little bit dark seems to be tired and old to me also. We try to keep it fresh and relevant, so.
All right, so the question on the monitor now, the picture we're looking at of that existing facility, there's some cove lighting in there just below the parapet. Is that part of your?
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is?
It is, yes.
You didn't show that on your drawings?
Well, the light source isn't seen, it's not viewable, it's hidden in there.
Okay.
So at night, yes, sir, yes.
So it'll be all around the building basically under that
And
parapet.
it stops at the tower, and it does not go across at the service yard. It's just the higher portion of the building. And it would stop at that brick element where the sign is. It would start and stop on either side of that.
Okay.
So you can see this building has the lighting, but in the daytime photos, you're not gonna find it.
It looks like, if you were to go back to that lit photo, it
Yep.
looks like the Lazy Dog is not lit, but it's just lit by the light coming down on it, or are those letters actually illuminated?
They are illuminated.
They are.
Well, they don't have that sign, though. We're not gonna see that sign on this building.
Not at that location, no.
No.
Well, they're gonna put the lazy,
sign is kind of around, there, it is in different spots.
they have it on the tower. They're gonna have one sign on the tower.
Yeah, you're just doing the one on the tower and the one on the
Tower,
wall.
there's here, and then isn't there one on the trash enclosure
Will they
elevation?
all be illuminated? All of the signs?
Here.
South?
Just that one. Yes, we'll illuminate them if we can, yes.
The south and the north, it looks like those are your only.
No, there's 3 signs. So there's the north,
Are they allowed to have 3 signs?
there's the south, and
They
then
have that
there's the east.
Entrance road and the
What's the-
parking lot that,
What's the name of the entrance road?
I don't see it on the east elevation.
well, they have
Yeah.
The pedestrian level sign lower.
the lot goes back to North Point Drive. That,
There's
thing
the
back there.
portent seal
There's 2
behind
on the building and then 1 lower for pedestrians, they said.
That's all we were allowed. We wanted the 4th, but for the
So
sign.
the 2 will be illuminated, correct?
North Point
On-
Court.
it. No, all 3 will be illuminated, right? Of the signs.
Well, we're gonna illuminate the lower level one with the lower landscape lights
Oh,
and
okay.
or from
So
above.
it's not,
Oh, okay.
excuse me.
I
All
just
right.
don't see that on our presentation.
No, it's hard, and I'm glad we're actually talking about the lighting. It's hard to show where the lights would go and how.
And the other 2 signs are internally illuminated?
Yes, sir.
Here, we've got this.
The east elevation one?
That's the Core 10 one, the east elevation.
Oh, shoot.
It's a backlit Core 10 sign. That's the Haynes Bridge side.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have to get a separate sign permit that requires compliance with the recently approved sign program.
yeah, with their sign.
We're already held to that set of standards.
Fine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, your work's done for that.
Thanks for letting me know.
Our work's never done. Our work's never done.
Approved, right, the sign
No,
program?
it took them
Yeah, and initially, the owners of Lazy Dog are like, let's go amend it. And we had to say, I doubt that's gonna be hard. It was just approved.
yeah, since it was just done, yeah.
So just coming back, I'm curious, the other board members' thoughts on the brick versus stone in the areas that we discussed. What are your, I mean, is it just me, or you guys all good with the brick?
I like your suggestion, Frank, on the east elevation, because that's going to be the predominant elevation most people see, of taking those. I like the center portion where the Lazy Dog sign is. I like that.
How it
I like
is.
today's version of that. I like May's version, last May's version on the right-hand side of the building. That's got, instead of the dark brick, it's got the stone in there. And then I do like your suggestion of pulling some stone into that, yes, that little ephes area, the bay right there between the windows, below and between the windows. Bring some of that stone back over on the other side. That's a little bit taller, so you see it. It's above the landscaping.
What's hard to see here too, sir, if I may add, is that stone is a wainscot pretty much all the way around the building.
Now, there is, you notice that, it's kind of hard to pick it out with the
Landscape,
landscape,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, I'll let you know that we've put that around the perimeter as well, but inserting it into that little piece there where the fenestration is and the transom at the top, I have no problem with that.
And the other thing I had, I'll mention the tower, the sloped walls of the tower. I've been torn about whether they,
Stop right there, would you, Jared?
Oh, sorry, I was late. I thought you were asking.
Okay, just hang on right there.
Oh, back?
Go ahead, Mr. Kramer.
all right, so yeah, so now that we're looking at the east elevation, that's where I like your suggestion, Frank, going back to the May Is that the, no, is that the,
You just
That's
don't
the-
think it's gonna be
That's
too
the right
much
elevation.
stone with
And-
the wainscot?
Yeah, and that was kind of why I wanted you to stop right there, because I'm looking at this one here, and none of the pictures that we've seen, none of the elevations, we're not seeing that bottom. So if you picture that, that we're gonna lose that base now in that area.
Or- Yeah, you are gonna lose the base, yeah.
I
And-
actually prefer the brick and myself. I just like that it adds some more accent. I think the stone would probably make it feel a little more Colorado mountainy, but I like the different, it makes it a little, I really like it. I mean, I'm not opposed if they end up going stone, but I really like the dark brick. Because especially when you see it right here, I think the stone would just make it all look more same.
Well, if I may add, again, I have my team and we filled it in with brick or with the stone. And the problem is I instantly went back to some research photos from Jackson Hole, and there's so many just stone buildings.
Yeah.
And it just felt too heavy. It was too much. And so that's why, wait a minute, they're using the brick. Let's pull the brick out. Let's use that. It's a good contrast. It's already been approved. That's their brick. Let's do it as accents. And to your point too, and I'm glad you stopped there, is the depth of that tower that you see where the lower pedestrian sign is. You know, you've got returns on this, so there's still more stone that you're not seeing in 1-point perspective.
Well, and on another note is the buildings that we've already approved to the left, to the left of this building, this brick almost helps tie the building to those as well, color-wise.
I like this elevation as well, because it's a good balance of material and there's a good feel to the contrast, since you did point out that the wainscot is there.
What if the wainscot was
at the base
at
of
the
those?
base of those two?
I was just thinking about that.
I like it not at the big one, because then I think that helps pedestrian level bring that sign down visually too. But where your cursor is,
Take the wainscot across.
yeah, take the
place
wainscot
that
across and brick above it.
brick and then make that
And then,
wainscot.
and then one more thing, put the dark brick in the windows, in that window space,
The dark
Oh,
brick,
up above?
Right here.
right there.
in there.
Oh, yeah, in there, yeah. We talked about that in,
Then that'll bring the right and left side, I mean, that kind of brings the whole thing together.
yeah,
I do
that,
that.
that would.
Yeah, with that.
Actually, I actually like it, what we're doing now, what we're
Yeah.
talking about is the brick there and then continuing the brick or the stone wainscot around the perimeter of the service yard.
Designing this on the fly.
Design on the fly.
To me, those look leggy. Now, landscaping will help that, but
I'll just bring
But like I said, I like, because it helps visually bring the sign down if there's nothing at the bottom there, because it would look too much picture framey. But to me, it needs it there on that right side to balance the left side. And then if you fill in between the windows with the dark brick, now they really are balanced. Well, I think.
Minimal change, and I could do that, and I would agree to that instantly, yes, sir.
All right,
Okay, any other elevation comments, questions?
well, what about similar comment on the north elevation, continuing that wainscot across?
Let's go to the north elevation. Oops.
This is it, right? You're talking about here?
Yeah, bring that, I think then we just become consistent, bring the wings.
This elevation, though, doesn't that have the Core 10 steel planter
No,
that
that
kind of?
was the previous version. We widened the landscape. The core 10 is around the patio now.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
Before we had just a very small,
we had a real small one, and then we gave you a less on the sidewalk to get more landscape.
Now we've got, they're like little trees in here.
and then we got the core 10 around the perimeter and the patio.
Yeah, I think we pull that base, the stone base around on this side as well.
Oh,
Gives it-
Yeah, these are the two, north and east are the two most prominent sides you see from the main street,
Yeah, they're
right, from
dynamite
the North
elevation
Point.
right now, I'll be honest. I mean, they're dynamite elevation.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
light on North Point Parkway, you sit there for a long time.
You do,
Oh, yes.
Well, you'll look at
Well,
the
you're like-
beautiful landscape and the glowing sconces.
Entertain the drivers.
So I would encourage you, before you finalize locations on your signs, to maybe look at this elevation again and where the people are gonna be coming from to see that sign, because I'm betting they won't see it up there. I almost bet you need to drop it down again into that wood.
Well, so this
To
is
get that-
standing like, what, 15 feet away from the building here, right? Or do you know how many feet it is away?
Oh, thereabouts, yeah.
I'm just thinking, when you add the landscaping that's right there, you know, those existing trees, you sit in your car out on North Point Parkway, are you gonna be able to get that visual, or do you need it to be here?
We'll definitely study that. I guess my concern,
I'll do a sign study on it
Yeah.
just to make sure.
I mean, if you're gonna get the signs, you want them to be seen.
yeah, oh yeah,
So,
because here, you know, these guys are gonna get.
well, you
bigger.
can keep those, yeah, but you could,
We need to
we'll bring the landscape guy back in. What are those? Do we know
This
for
meeting.
sure?
These trees here.
We're going to talk more about the town.
I'm gonna bring it
He's
up.
looking.
on the sheet. I don't know.
Okay, all right.
On that east elevation, or no, the,
I can understand.
3 coral bark maple, 5 flowering dogwood. So coral bark maple and flowering dogwood. And here I'll go back to.
what do you think about that in that location?
I'd like to just do a Google Map study, just check, do a sightline study just to make sure.
Yeah, I think you should, and I think we should also get Steve's group to look at that plant material and that distance and their spread. I mean, dogwoods are pretty good size. I mean, that, they may not do well with being restricted up against the wall like that. I'm not really
I like the
sure.
rhythm, I like the rhythm of the.
I do too.
Of the plant palette
Yep.
there. I love that rhythm and that look. So I would be very careful, but if you would allow me to just do a Google Maps sightline study, get some photos of that and.
Yeah,
see
you
if
can,
that-
we can figure that out in the sign thing. Yeah, that's not a problem.
Just a quick question for my notes. What's the name of the darker stain that we were talking about? Do you have a color or a name on that?
It's a WD3.
Okay, a WD3.
WD3.
And what's the one we're getting rid of?
The Blondie?
We're not gonna use the
Yeah.
WD2 or the WD1, 5, and 6.
The orangish one I'm talking about that
The WD1, 5, and 6.
it's called 1, 5,
1, 5, and 6.
1, 5, and 6.
Because it's used on patio and stuff like that, so that's how that's.
WD 1, 5, N as in Nancy, 6?
And, yeah, A-N-D.
And,
Oh, and.
1, comma,
numbers.
5, comma, and 6.
Okay.
All right, my only other comment was the sloped walls on the tower feature, and I guess I've been going back and forth whether it's appropriate or not in this location, so.
And again, that's the one feature of pop and identity that we're really asking for here. You can tell we've bent over backwards to conform. We want to have this one thing that gives us just that one bit of identity and differentiation from all these surrounding buildings.
And then you told me, but we're not gonna be able to see it, so I'm gonna take your
Yeah, we're here.
word,
We'll
take
go.
your word for it.
Back to the
What's
perspective.
interesting on that fly around on that 3D perspective is that,
watch for it, yeah.
you're running at eye level, 6-foot person. It's minimal there,
It's gone.
and it's
This
gone.
is the Haynesbridge side.
Mm-hmm.
This is the other, basically where your people are gonna drive into is gonna be right there,
How you pick it back up again once you pull back
Mm-hmm.
in.
and the
And
front.
it identifies the front door. I mean, this is a 360 building. You can walk up, where's the front door? How am I gonna find it? People really get lost and walk around the whole restaurant. This is common, looking for a front door. Is it by the street? Is it by the parking lot? Oh, there it is. It directs you.
For those returning customers, they know where to go.
They will, yeah. And we're glad to have them.
I don't think they'd be any more lost with a square tower, but we can leave it at that.
well,
Let's look a little bit at your service yard.
well, I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I get that it's a branding and it's a design. But what's funny, from the first time this was presented, I thought it looked like a lighthouse, which I looked at your menu. It doesn't represent it, but I mean, that's just a designer thing. But for me, driving by here, I'd be like, oh, is that like a seafood place? Or
No.
what is that? Because it reminds me of a lighthouse.
Okay, stop there, Jared.
Oh, hang on. Right here?
No.
Nope.
Nope, feel that.
Rocky Mountain.
Right there?
Yeah, there doesn't show here, but is there any detail on those service gates or anything that's gonna help, that elevation is, that portion of the elevation is just, bleh. And that faces the parking lot, which
Yeah, it
where
does.
most of your people are gonna,
That's the parking lot side.
yeah, be able to, yeah, I mean, that's what they're gonna be looking at. I mean, yes, it's for what we're doing here, it's not a street side, so it's gotta have that. But
Is it the doors? You don't like the doors?
something on the drawings that you submitted, there's detail to those doors.
Yeah,
They're not just plain.
they're slats.
Yeah, let me.
Oh, in the
Here,
metal
let me,
service yard?
let me flop real
Yeah.
quick and I'll put what I have
Go for
up.
it.
See that? See how there's detail?
Yeah,
And that's what they'll be. They're a
Corrugation.
C channel. It's more of a U channel,
So
metal.
there's gonna be something other than
Oh, no,
just,
Oh, no, it's
Not just a flat
It's
panel,
gonna have A heavy steel welded frame. It's gonna have these channels in there.
like a corrugated look
Yeah, it's
almost.
a corrugated, but it's the wide, it's the like 4-inch channels. Then it inverts in 4-inch channel.
if you go to my photo, I got a photo of it.
Yes,
Hang on.
yes.
But what would it look like to paint those the brick color, the dark brick color?
You don't,
Bad? Stand out?
you want them to go away, you want them to go away as much as
If it
possible.
match it
Right
exactly.
here.
The trouble with dark like
Oh,
that.
yeah, okay.
If something scratches or gets dirty, you see it more on dark than you do a neutral color.
Good point, yep.
And in the trash area, that's the heaviest use. Yeah.
Is there anything else we need to look at on this
No,
one?
I
or-
think we're done.
I think we
can do
designed
s-
that. It's gonna look
Mr.
really
Chairman,
All right.
Mr. Chairman, regarding DRB 210028, I move that we accept the landscape plan as presented in this package, in my motion.
I'll second the motion for that matter. So, okay, a motion by Mr. Owens, a second by Mr. Kramer. Any comments or questions about the motion? Oh, I should ask for a public comment. Is there any public comment about the landscaping? Nope, no public comment. Okay, we can proceed with, all right, any other comments or questions about the motion? There being none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. All opposed? No opposition. Motion passes 4-0. Very good. All right.
All right, Mr. Chairman, regarding DRB 210028, Lazy Dog, motion to approve the elevation and materials as presented today with the following changes. On the east side, applicant will use the dark brick in place of the stucco by the windows, in the middle of the windows, and continue the stone wainscot across the right side of that elevation. On the north elevation, applicant will continue the stone wainscot across that elevation as well. Clarification that the tower lighting will be muted, accent-type lighting, not emanating out of the tower. Applicant will use the darker stain on the wood trim, so that is WD3 versus WD1, 5, and 6. End of motion.
Very good. All right, thank you, Mr. Swing. A motion by Mr. Swing, a second by Ms. Rocco.
I didn't get that portion after we continued the wainscot on the east side, we continued the wainscot on the right side, then you went to the trash enclosure around.
Went to the north elevation.
North elevation.
And I've got it shown here. I wanted to clarify, I know you wanted it between the brick. Are we talking about along the wood here?
No, not along
No.
the wood, just at the base of the brick, instead of the brick, yeah, just
Filling in
continue it there.
Bays, essentially.
Yes,
Exactly.
that's the north elevation comment.
Yeah.
Okay, Brett, how are you doing? And then there was,
Okay,
and then there was the clarification on the muted light
In the tower,
and
got that.
okay,
and then the dark stain,
the dark stain of the
W.
wood trim.
D3.
So
Dark stained wood trim, yep.
WD3.
Was there, can you just roll that around?
To win.
No change.
This elevation, there was no changes on
change.
this elevation because we've already got the wood trim stuff.
Right, no
And there
change.
was no changes on the other elevation with the patio side.
Correct, right.
Right.
Again, other than the wood stain,
Other
which
than the
applies to
stain,
everything.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. Okay, I think
Good.
I got it, and I'm sure Lauren does.
Okay, very good. All right.
Did we want to say anything about the material for the enclosure in that upper area? The mesh
I think
work
On the trash enclosure?
on the trash enclosure?
I think it's.
Well, he explained that was a 1x1 welded wire, basically, right?
One, it's a McNichols product, it's a standard product, it's a 1x1, we painted black,
Black.
metal welded frame.
Right.
It's for air transfer on the service
Yeah.
yard.
Right.
Bless you.
I think we're good with
I
that.
was satisfied with it.
I think we're good.
Who seconded?
Katie did. Ms. Rocco. Okay, any other comments or questions? There being none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. All opposed? No opposition. Motion passes 4-0. Very good. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you
Appreciate
all.
it.
Greatly
Good deal.
appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks for being here and thanks for being prepared.
You guys are coming.
Thank you.
We need another break.
Yes, we're excited to get here, we're gonna get going here.
You had the,
You said it's gonna feel like Colorado when you walk in, will the climate feel that way? And will you have
We have a lot of
Wy-
dehumidification.
Wyoming.
AC units.
Why, turn them down.
Jared,
Okay, very good. All right.
For your help.
you'll just want to include that like on your,
Yes, if you'll grab the, Kim and Holly. All right, Fulton Science Academy, are you here? I'll tell you what, do you want to take a quick,
let's take a couple minutes.
all right, I'm gonna call for a short recess. Fulton Science Academy is next. We're gonna call for just a very short recess so we can run to the restroom and get our coffee cups refilled, so. Yes, a quick recess, sorry. We've got to take a break. Yes, you have been. Oh, very good. Okay. Okay, let's end our recess and get going again with the next application. So Fulton Science Academy, good morning, you're here, welcome. If you will make sure you speak into the microphone, introduce yourselves, and then review what we have in our packet this morning, please.
Sure, I'm Sean Hamlin. I'm an architect with BRPH. We're submitting for the application on behalf of the Fulton Science Academy, and this is my colleague, John Stevenson. And we're going to talk today about the request for the school to place not only a greenhouse on site, but also to do some decorative fencing along the Fanfare Way. And I'll let John kind of describe the design intent.
Okay, very good. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. Basically, it's really just two simple things. One is a decorative fence along Fanfare Way, and then the other is the educational greenhouse, the placement of those two.
Okay.
I went too fast. You're familiar with the site plan. North is up and slightly to the right in there, and that had a great deal to do with the placement of the greenhouse itself. The building is a light blonde brick, and it has a darker accent stripe running along it. And so this became pretty much what we borrowed for the gate and fence design. So it's all pretty much cut of the same cloth. The horizontal stripes, and you can see the entry elements, the obelisk, and then the monument sign in there. Both of those have to be accommodated. It's a split drive, so that there'd be three elements, I believe, to the entry gates. Right now, they're proposed to be automated. More of the context you can see. The obelisk. There's a landscape line that forms a semicircle, and that's really what we used in our design. As far as avoiding that, there's also a large valve structure that's buried in the sidewalk. Two main automated gates, and then there's a pedestrian gate that is shown where the sidewalk would wrap back into the driveway as well. So during operating hours, the gates would be open. Off hours, there would be cart access for both pedestrian and cars.
Brett, just curious with the gated fence, any issues with the fire department?
With the fire department, they'll have to put the thing on there.
The Knox box or the?
Yeah.
Okay.
But before we move forward with the installation of that, the traffic guys will have to have a conversation with you about stacking and turnaround if they're not along the right spot.
Right.
So the location of those may have to shift back a little bit, but that's here or there.
We know that there's an existing crosswalk from the Artisan across the way, and that they're going to have to be recessed beyond the crosswalk to not interfere with pedestrian traffic. But also, in talking with the owner with the automated gates, the plan is to leave the gates open during the school day, so they're remaining open throughout the day. They're closed after hours, and they'll just have limited access. They can monitor who comes and goes after hours, or any kind of after-hour events. So they'll be open. But
Are you doing this as are you having security issues, or is it just being proactive?
I think they're being proactive. I think that knowing that, like you've mentioned before, the school's a little bit sunken down below Fanfare Way. It's really hidden by the landscape. They just wanted to have that layer of kind of additional security, but also doing it in a more decorative way.
Yeah, right now the security line is the perimeter of the school. And so, like most schools, they want to push that to the edge of the property.
All right, very good.
How tall is the fence?
6 feet.
Yeah.
6 feet?
6 feet.
And it's just a black aluminum
Right, powder-coated.
fence, it's powder-coated aluminum, okay.
And then the piers themselves are basically the same as the building material palette in there, so it's all cut of the same cloth.
Is the fence on the inside or the outside of the tree line?
The tree line that runs along Fanfare Way, it's outside of the tree line in most cases. In some cases, it will encroach, so there's a little bit of having to remove and supplement when this goes in.
when you say remove and supplement, meaning landscaping? Or,
Some trees will interfere with the placement of the fence,
All right.
not many as far as we can tell.
go back, you had a picture, I think, of Fanfare Way
Okay.
on your monitor, just curious as to, right, yeah, let's see. You had two pictures on
Oh, the context.
one more, there you go.
Yeah.
So there's, on the right-hand side, there's Fanfare Way, so in that area, where does the security or decorative fencing go? Or where you,
It is just inside of that sidewalk, so
Okay.
this is probably the area where there may be some difficulty in there
Not
because
just
the trees
limb up
are,
the
the
trees.
spacing do get closer to the sidewalks in some
okay.
areas.
Well, let's coordinate with, if you'll coordinate with the arborist to make sure we're not damaging, I mean, you know, you've got utilities, you've got trees and roots and things of that nature, so let's just make sure it's thought through as you do that.
So, yeah, understand that the tree disturbance is pretty much the drip line, so as well.
Yeah. You'll have to do, I know you'll have to, for these piers, you'll have to do a foundation or footing for each one of them, so. Okay, very good. All right.
Going back to the,
You're putting in a lot of fence,
it is a lot of fence.
about a half a mile of fencing, isn't it?
It is a lot. And in terms of the pier spacing too, is we have several, is it steps up near the entry in there. So it's basically one panel per pier, and then it's along Fanfare Way. It is 3 panels per pier, so it steps out to about 30 feet. So it's kind of modulated a bit. It allows us to do the big curve at the entry as well, in there
Okay.
with the greater spacing.
So I assume between the piers, if your piers are 30 feet on center, you're going to have some intermediate supports for that fencing that will,
There'll
okay.
be 2 uprights in between each pier on
Okay.
the 30-foot spacing.
Very good. Okay. So any other questions about fencing and so forth? Okay. All right, let's talk about the greenhouse, please.
Righty. So this is kind of the area where the greenhouse will locate. You can see that, there is a big difference in between the elevation of the road and also the building. So it fits down in that hollow. As mentioned previously, there is a.
John, I'm sorry, if you just go back that slide again, or that. So can you use your pointer and kind of give us where that is, where you're proposing the greenhouse to go?
I believe it's right in this area.
All right,
off of that image.
I guess we can't see your pointer or your cursor. All right.
It's not showing up on the screen.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The right or the left photo?
It is the left photo and then towards the right of that image on there. You can see it'd be 20 feet off of the building.
So it's down in that hollow back in there. That row of shrubs we're seeing, I guess those are hollies. It looks like on the left they might be hollies, and I don't know what, the cryptomeria or something on the right. Those are staying?
Yeah.
Correct.
Not removing, okay, so it's back behind those, okay.
Or he's talking about these.
Has no tree plantings in it currently.
It's
Okay.
currently on a level part of the site.
Okay.
And what you're seeing is the embankment, and those plantings on the embankment are going to remain.
Okay.
And the area of disturbance is really on the flat part, and it's, we knew we needed to show some pictures of context, especially from pedestrian sides of the road, to show that the disturbance of the trees and plantings on the embankment won't be bothered.
Okay.
And so the greenhouse is below the parapet line of the building by a good deal. It's approximately 15 to 17 feet tall in there. So it is located well down in that hollow area.
Okay. Go to your next slide. All right, good.
So it's a fairly simple structure. We heard the comments earlier about the masonry base on it, and we agree that's something that we can work with the manufacturer to accomplish. It's basically the material is a Lexan sheet, cellular Lexan sheet in there. It is very UV stable, so it does not yellow over time. It just needs to be cleaned. That's the only.
It just needs to be what? I'm sorry?
Cleaned in there over time.
Okay.
It'll
Clean.
accumulate down here. It accumulates lots of stuff, but it will mildew.
Okay.
It will mildew.
So it's interesting, I mean, I have some experience with Lexan, and my experience is it doesn't yellow, but it does craze.
Yeah, it does graze.
Yeah,
Over
and not over too long of a period of time it will craze. So I'm kind of not sure how long that's going to last before you get a lot of crazing in the Lexan.
For the cellular product, it's mostly a visual problem more so than a structural problem.
Yeah, it's a visual problem, right.
Can you explain that term?
So
Mr. Smarty Pants.
you get little occlusions in the, so it almost looks like it's dirty, but it's not. It's little occlusions, like micro fractures in the Lexan is what it looks like.
As it expands and moves, it tends to do that. But it doesn't.
So it kind of gives it a fogging look kind of thing, or?
That's a good way of putting it.
Pitted?
Well, and
It's
the
not,
material,
it doesn't look foggy. It looks pitted. You know, almost like it got blasted with some little bits of something.
Like a sandblast.
If that makes any sense. But there's actually these little micro fractures that are in the Lexan.
and we had requested a physical sample from the greenhouse manufacturer that was supposed to come on Wednesday, but now they're saying it's tracking today, so our apologies for that. But we have installed, it's a pre-manufactured greenhouse.
Is it? Okay.
So the construction activity is the connection of utilities from the building, electrical, water, and gas, and then a concrete structural slab. But it's a pre-manufactured system.
Okay.
And we recently did this same project up at Denmark High School close by in Forsyth County. So, and the material itself, it's a little dispersed. It's not like a true sheet glazing that you can see through it transparent, because the idea of once you want it to disperse the light in the greenhouse evenly. So if the material does craze, it's not going to be as noticeable.
So it's not a completely clear Lexan?
It gives you a distorted view of light, so it's transparent, but it's not completely translucent.
And it does what a greenhouse glazing needs to do, is it basically traps the heat.
Traps it,
as effectively as glass. So normally the kits are this because of lower maintenance, lower breakage.
I know greenhouses, you got to bring in potting soil and plants and all that. I assume you're going to keep the outside of the greenhouse, or the school will keep it neat and tidy and clean and
Correct.
not have
Right.
stack stuff or leave stuff sitting out.
Yeah. The
But just
problem
one-
with greenhouses is if they're not attended to, is that they do accumulate all the stuff that was in the greenhouse outside the greenhouse. So it's a maintenance issue.
Yeah, just want to make sure it stays clean and, doesn't become an eyesore. Okay. Any other questions about the greenhouse? Do we know what they're going to grow in the greenhouse?
We don't.
Yet?
No, Katie.
It's associated with their STEAM programs.
Okay.
The science, technology, engineering, and arts. And,
Okay, very good.
Vegetables, they can sell
So
them.
back to that comment about the brick base, though. I don't know if it's worth that
I don't-
expense.
I don't
Because
see
it's
a
so
brick
far
base.
down in the hole, and,
Yeah, it wouldn't be visible.
yeah, it's not worth
Yeah,
incurring the
we need
expense for that, I
Yeah.
don't think, given how far down
fancy
it
it
is.
up.
And you've got that row of shrubs, and there's trees, and, and you're gonna have a fence, and,
But they don't remove those rows of shrubs and trees.
No, they can't.
Because I live over there and I walk on that sidewalk.
yeah.
And we're gonna be looking down on it, so as long as the shrubs and the trees are there, I think it'll be be fine.
I think the layer of screening that you're going to get with the new fence and then the added existing kind of landscaping that's still maturing and growing in, it's going to screen it pretty well, and you won't see the greenhouse effectively. It will be hard to notice it unless you're looking for it.
You just won't.
I'll be looking for it.
Absolutely.
Well, just don't do that.
Look the other way.
Walk on by.
Look the other way.
Walk on the other side. No,
So are we good for motion?
I think so, yeah.
Can you separate these, or can they be
I
together?
I think we put them
They're
together.
all as submitted, so.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion in regards to DRB 210034 for Fulton Science Academy, that we approve what was presented today in regards to the greenhouse, as well as the exterior property fencing, and the applicant will work with the arborist if there's any sort of change in the greenery, trees and whatnot. And a motion.
I second.
Okay, a motion by Ms. Rocco, a second by Mr. Owens. Before I call for a vote, is there any public comment about this application?
We discussed and they talked about, are we including the masonry base or is that's gone? I missed
That's
that.
out.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Just as what
No,
was presented.
no masonry base to the greenhouse. All right, any other questions or comments? There being none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All opposed, no opposition. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
All right, very good. Thank you for that.
They'll ask for that on your title page.
Our next application is, or applicant's going to be Bank of America. Bank here, come on down, please.
You're the next contestant. Price is right.
All right, good morning. Welcome. If you'll make sure you introduce yourself this morning, speak into the microphone, and then give us an overview of what Bank of America would like to do.
Well, that's a great question.
Hope you know.
We're trying to figure that out. So while this is booting up, my name is Jeff Metz. I'm with Little. We're an architectural firm out of Charlotte, North Carolina. We are the production architect as a third-party consultant to JLL, which is the facility partner for Bank of America. We do not represent the design. We merely execute the design. So comments today will be sent to others on our team and others that we report to, our clients, obviously, for the comments that we received today on the design that's going to be presented.
Yeah.
Wow.
We were the design architect on this project.
They've even changed their bank name.
Yeah, we want that.
Okay.
But we have this.
I'll present the deck, but if there's some background information that's needed in terms of context photos or any of the background information with regard to the Phase 1, I'm happy to present that as well. This is the entrance of Bank of America located on 244 South Main Street. Obviously, the bank building is dated. It's a two-story building, and it's been in existence for a while. We were not the original architect.
Not taking credit for that?
No. So here's our site plan. It illustrates the last approved rendition of the functioning of the site, which includes now a drive-up ATM machine with a stacking lane for 4 cars, a repavement of about 50% of the parking, extensive landscaping along South Main and New DeVore Road. And what we are proposing in Phase 2 now is to eliminate the canopy, the drive-up canopy that is no longer being used. So that's in this location right here. Of course, it's very prominent as you drive up South Main Street. So the good news is we're proposing to demolish that completely and then patch the stucco band behind it.
Has that not already been demolished?
Yeah, I thought we already approved that, didn't we?
Yeah, I think that's gone.
I think on the last approval, we did that, the building.
There was a separate building that was unattached. That was demolished probably about a year ago. This is still attached. I've got some photographs if you'd like
all
to
right.
see what it looks like. Would you like to see that now or
I
later?
feel
No,
like we already approved it.
Yeah, we've already,
Maybe 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Not the attached canopy.
Right, we approved that to be
Correct.
removed and patched already.
Okay.
Yeah, anyways, go ahead. Yeah.
go ahead,
You're
just
good.
proceed with your package.
The demolition.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
support it. Yeah. bulldoze
And
down,
just
let's
keep
go.
going, just keep going. We understand that completely. So this is a rendition of the site plan then with the canopy being removed and the parking resurfaced. And then, of course, what we're also proposing then is the new location for a night drop that would be on the front of the building so that no longer without a drive-through, the night drop is not functioning. So we would propose to move it towards the front of the building as a walk-up situation. And that would be located right in this area right here.
So did they remove that separate ATM area that was off to the side? Wasn't this the building where there was a separate ATM? So that's
Yes.
gone?
That's already gone.
That's
Yes.
gone. Okay.
That's gone.
Perfect. 'Cause we spent a lot of time on that.
So the proposal is to paint the brick and paint the stucco. The stucco would be an Arctic white. And this is one of Bank of America's standard colors that they're proposing to put on the stucco around the whole entire perimeter. And then the brick masonry facades would be in the charcoal gray. The other material being proposed is just at the entrance. These are metal panels that would frame the entrance just in this location right here. And it matches the white paint. So it's not the most inventive design, but this is what was given us to propose.
Are they doing the same thing on the DeBoer entrance? There's 2 entrances on the building.
Yes. No, as far as, Brett, as far as the panels themselves, no. The panels just for the very front entrance.
Which is the one that faces the other development or faces?
It faces the other development.
So the DeBoer side, what's it gonna look like?
It won't change. It will just be, I've got an elevation of that as well. So
Okay, that one right there.
it's not going to change.
Okay.
So here would be a perspective with, again, the painted brick, the painted stucco, and then the metal panels around the front entrance.
Is there any white painted brick, or that's just on the rendering from the previous?
Let's see.
No, I think go back one more.
Okay.
The elevation we were just discussing with the windows.
Let's see. Go back here.
That's all panels.
You see that?
This one?
Yeah, like around the windows, that white brick.
It looks like they're painting something around the windows.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Painting.
Where you showed the back door.
The
This-
DeBoer elevation.
The south,
Yes.
south elevation, or even, looks, it's almost like the fins or the surrounds.
I apologize for not being able to manipulate this. There we go. This
Where
one,
the windows are. Whoops. Go back to 4 or 5, yeah.
this one here, right at
All
this,
of those windows, what's the white around?
Yeah,
it?
underneath
that
that.
would have to be paint.
So it'd be white painted
That would be
brick,
the brick,
the
right.
accent? Okay. That would match the.
The Arctic white.
Correct.
Well, I'm not a big fan of painting brick so much, but the challenge here is there's been kind of a mix and match of brick that's been they've tried to patch things, they've tried to do different things, and the brick doesn't match that's there now. So I think this is a good compromise to help
It's definitely better than that.
bring some consistency. Yeah, I think this is the elevation, exactly. See?
I can illustrate that right there, and in
Yes.
many other places where brick was patched.
I saw that and it's like, oh my gosh, you can tell what was there. I mean, that's the drive-through.
Look at that.
That, that was,
Without putting a mural on it, you're doing well just to paint it.
Right.
You're not taking credit for this?
And this is what's coming down that way you just said.
and they're the brick.
As an architect, it's almost embarrassing to present this, but again, that's what I'm tasked to do.
So remind me, what did we do with, there was an ATM island,
Yeah,
and that was,
it was like in the landscape.
It went out and
it moved,
to the other side of where the new road's going.
where the new road's going, right,
New
okay.
DeBoer.
And what were the finishes? Was that brick, or was,
I think it was metal.
so long ago, we can't,
It was just like the
freestanding, just a freestanding key. I remember discussing the colors of that, but okay, so it's,
I'll have to look back, that's a good point. I'll have to look back and see if we made that new brick, then obviously we would paint the brick the same.
yeah.
For the ATM itself, it's a metal enclosure, but we went with a cool gray color in lieu of the red box.
That's right, yeah.
Was there any brick on the ATM?
No.
Oh, no, it was just a freestanding metal, okay,
I can
kiosk
show you an
type.
illustration of that.
When was it? I was looking back trying to find it. It had to be a while ago.
It was last year. But we were in here at the time.
There it is, right there.
October 2020.
That's it in red, which was changed now to the cool gray, so there will be no
Okay,
red on it
so there's
at
no
all.
masonry there, okay,
Fairly large structure that you drive underneath for ATM.
okay, all right. Is there any other changes other than paint then? It's pretty much just painting the building, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Do you anticipate with the painting that's going to happen or the treatment that you will damage any existing landscaping around the building?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
Except for there is a row of bushes in this illustration here. There is a row of bushes right here in which we will have to remove some of those in order to gain access to the walk-up drive night drop. So
Okay.
that would be the only exception.
All right, so you can work with staff on any changes there?
Yes.
Okay.
Are we ready for
All
a
right.
motion?
Well, let me ask this one more. I just pulled this up from October, the monument sign. There's an existing monument sign that's red brick right now.
I think that was proposed in the last Design Review Board meeting, or as part of Phase 1, if I'm not mistaken, by the design company.
All right, but it's red brick.
So if that's what was proposed, that's what's going back, that we're not touching anything with the monument sign in this phase.
Yeah, that's
So would
gonna
you-
match the building.
How much of this did we approve before?
We didn't do anything on this.
Yeah, we're gonna need that to match the building. I would say the dark.
Freestanding,
gray.
big ATM.
Correct.
Building itself stayed the same.
Yeah, I'm just
And did
looking-
we approve the landscape planting at that time?
Yes.
Okay,
But
thank
the
you.
brick should match the brick
Brick
building.
on the body, but it's gonna have
To match.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at, that's,
Want to do the charcoal?
I would
I
charcoal.
think the charcoal would look better, yeah.
Okay,
Because
the sign's
the sign's white, yeah, so it would look, yeah.
okay.
And I
Good
Good job.
would
That's
condition
why you're chairman.
any
well, I just stumbled into that.
change any plantings or move any.
Okay.
Signage- In our situation, the signage company works independent directly for the client, so the coordination can happen through us without any issue, but that's why I wasn't so up on the colors of that.
No, the sign's fine, it would just be the base that it's.
The base
No
is
problem. Happy
just
to do
gotta
that.
match. And I'm sure they would want it to match too.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Allow me please to make a motion for DRB 210033, the Bank of America Enhancements, that we approve the the presentation that Mr. Metz has made this morning, and it is a good geometric exercise to make those panels and the contrast work to create something that enhances what's there. And at the same time that we are approving the colors presented, we are also approving the sign with the condition that the red brick presented earlier for that sign will be the dark gray color. And if there are any adjustments that have to be made for anything that has been approved, that the consultant will work that out with city staff.
Correct.
End of motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Owens, a second by Ms. Palmer. Before I call for a vote, is there any public comment about the motion on the floor or about the application? There being none, okay, we can continue.
I'll be public comment. Is that fine? He didn't present a sign, so do we need to make the comment?
But it's,
He said as presented today, but they didn't present a
He said
sign. Is that
presented
covered?
earlier.
But in-
He said presented earlier.
Red-
Okay, we're covered. Good.
And
Yes,
we're
we're
talking
good.
about painting it the gray paint color.
the dark gray color. Okay, anything else about the motion on the floor? There being none, I'll call for a vote. I'm sorry,
Holly second.
Holly, Ms. Palmer.
My last, I know he said, excuse me, for the part about working with city staff, did you mean in reference to the landscape needing to be removed?
If there were any impact that needed to be addressed,
Okay.
which may not happen.
Okay. Lauren, you good? Okay. All right, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All opposed, no opposition. Motion passes 6-0. Very good. Jeff, thanks for your presentation this morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Safe trip back to Charlotte, I guess, right? Okay. All right. Next up is Stonewalk 2. You're here. Come on down. Come on up, please.
Thanks, Brad.
All right, as you get set up, just a gentle reminder to make sure you introduce yourselves, speak into the microphone, and then you'll give us an overview, obviously, of what you want to do with Stonewalk 2.
Hello, my name is Stuart Reese, and I am part of the architecture firm working on this project. And I'm here with Peter Bilson, who's the landscape architect, and Christopher Partain, who's walking in now as part of the is the civil engineering team.
Very good. All right.
So we all wanted to come in today. Michael, I don't know if you wanted to start by just giving a couple words to give us the context.
Thank you, everybody, for seeing us today. I represent Vince, who's the owner of this, the old Alpharetta building you guys are all very familiar with. First thing I want to do, without rubbing too many backs, is to compliment you on the last DRB that we had for the facade renovations. I was in charge and facilitated the facade renovations of that building. We've gotten a lot of compliments on it, so we'll start with, as an architect, I can say, we'll start with saying thank you for those great recommendations. The building looks a lot better. I hope you think so when you drive by. So that was a great improvement. This is the 7th building permit, maybe 8th on this building, so it's really a lot of attention. Today I just picked up a permit for Morgan & Morgan, who's going in the building, and Cork & Cleaver, which is part of a butcher shop from Buckhead Butcher Shop. So the Alpharetta spot will be split in half, and that's what's going in there. Facade renovations have been done. We took off the sunroom, the old sunroom that was put on there after the building was built, about 10 years later. And so they're going to speak to extending the building, doing an addition where the old sunroom was. So again, I was part of the DRB when you guys did the approvals for that. And again, hopefully you improve of how it looks right now, and we'll continue that from here. Thank you.
We're glad you're back. You may be a glutton for punishment, but we're glad you're back.
So I'm new to the building, but Michael did explain the context. So this was a survey that we submitted that had been previously done, how the building used to be before some of the renovations that took place since then. And so essentially all we're doing on the building side is we're just extending it plan north. We're adding 2,600 square feet for a restaurant to move in. And then we're also adding a exterior patio that'll take the place of some of the parking spots that are currently there. In order to do that, we have to move one of the transformers that is currently just sitting there, and it's shown in this plan. We're moving that out, and then we want to provide some rich landscaping in front of the patio to screen that from Haynesbridge, between the patio and the transformer, and add some screening on the black.
Stuart, can you take your cursor just to identify the location of that transformer?
So the transformer was right here.
Okay,
We're moving it here.
gotcha. Thank you.
And this obviously is the area that we're adding. This is the patio that we're adding, and then we'll show in our landscape plans what we're doing here. One thing I do need to amend on the site plan, which was a mistake on my part, we had shown this as an extended curb. We are not going to do that. That's existing to remain, so I apologize for that. Okay, the landscape plan, Pete can talk in more detail on that if you have any questions, but as I already kind of alluded to, we were showing a lot of landscaping around here to really provide screening. You have 4.5 feet between the edge of this patio and where the parking starts. We feel like that would be a good amount of good space to provide some landscaping. And then we're also providing it around the transformer and on the backside.
Stuart, before we jump to the landscaping, going back to the site plan, are there any stormwater detention? I guess the impervious materials remain the same amount. How about the dumpster or trash enclosure?
Dumpster's already there.
Okay.
That's existing to remain. That's down here.
That's okay.
For stormwater, Chris, I don't know if there's anything more to say about that.
I don't. We're still in the process of. If you'll speak into the microphone. Chris.
I've had a conversation with Zach Truelove, your stormwater engineer, and we really haven't gotten very far into it. I think what we're going to do, I know that the city has a tiered approach on stormwater, and I think we're going to fall between, I think we've got at least 1,000 square feet of new impervious, but we're less than 5,000. So we may have to do something to address water quality or runoff reduction in the parking lot, but that's not clearly defined yet. There is an existing system, Zach tells me, that is to the south, and said that I can do an open records request and get the study and look at that when the time's right. But it's my understanding that this is more of an aesthetics review. That's kind of what I was told. And so stormwater stuff, we don't have an above ground detention pond proposed somewhere if that's what your concern is.
Just checking to make sure there wasn't any above ground.
No, I don't think there's room for it.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be forced to go underground.
Good. Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
So I kind of presented the overview of the landscaping. These are just the city standards for the pedestrian lights. This, as you all are well familiar, you drive past this building probably on the way here. This is what's there now. As you can see right now, there's a blank wall on the north side. This is the side that we're extending onto, and we are going to add, and I'll mention this later, on that elevation, some really cool things. So there's a bank, there's a nail salon. I believe this next one is the Morgan & Morgan, and it's the butcher shop. Okay. This is some of the surrounding, and I believe we've already heard today some things about some of the nearby happenings. The restaurant addition, as we said, 2,600 square feet. We're taking the footprint of the building and we're just going directly planned north. This is kind of a zoomed in idea on the architectural side of some of what we're talking about. We were asked as part of this submittal to include some RTUs. So for the size of the space, it being a restaurant, we expect there to be 3 units on the roof to kind of match what's also on the existing buildings.
While you're right there.
Yes. Want me to go back one?
Well, actually, that elevation right there.
Yes.
You're showing those RTUs being seen apparently?
Well, since the roof does slope from the front to the back, we set them back so from straight on elevation, which this shows, you would see it, but in actuality, from the side view and from the perspective of someone standing on the street, you would not.
Did you prepare a site view plan for us?
We did.
Okay, so that's in our package?
That's correct.
Oh, okay.
And we'll get to that.
I can speak to that as well. There's a parapet wall at the front, looking down to almost 5 feet.
just wanted to make sure. I didn't see the sightline study in our package, so.
Okay, well, yeah.
Because we do have people that say, oh, you won't see things, and
No, I understand that.
so.
Okay. Okay, so building facade, so nails and spa, it's the painted brick. We're using that same color, the functional gray. We're also using the canopy, which was previously approved there. Here is just a little larger to be proportional to the storefront. Again, we're matching a lot of what's there existing for the storefront, the entrance. This right here is the piece that we're adding off to the side. And then you can see this north wall where my cursor is. That's where we're adding the storefront for the restaurant, and we're also adding storefront to be able to go out to the patio. Transformers shown here in green, and then this would be the landscaping on in between. Again, functional gray was the color that was selected based on what was there with the nail salon, and we intend to tie into the existing design. So these are some renderings of what it looks like. So again, ignore the signage. That's going to be a future DRB presentation. For this, is just to kind of give you an idea of what it would look like as a composition altogether.
So the only, that you showed a number of colors, and that was just for reference to the rest of the building.
That's
the functional
correct, sir.
gray is the
Yes.
only paint color you're using.
That's correct, for the whole.
For the whole building.
That is exactly correct. And then here's the rendering. I should back up. This was our sightline views that you were talking, Mr. Kramer, earlier. So this is what you would see from the street. Okay. This was just a rendering to kind of tie it into what's there now, kind of give a more realistic view in terms of the context of what's there. A second one of those, and that's it for our presentation.
Back to the patio for a second. I'd like to go through some of the detail on
Sure.
what you've got on the patio, what the supports are and the roof system and the fencing and.
Yeah, so to tie into kind of the black canopies, our design was to call for a black standing seam metal roof. We will have black columns that will have a brick base to match the brick on the functional gray brick. And then it'll be an iron fence that will surround the patio. So we'll be completely enclosed. And obviously, there will be some work through with the restaurant itself, but our idea was that there would be some fans, some outdoor fans to help.
What's the proportion of the posts that you're using to support the patio? Are they 6x6 posts or?
I did not write that down.
I think we want to make sure it's proportionate to the patio size.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me, and I'll get back to you.
I can speak to one thing. I believe that the columns will be 2 foot by 2 foot brick columns, and then the metal posts coming out from the middle will probably be 8 by 8.
Yeah.
8 by 8,
Yeah.
okay, all right,
I'm sure the exact, but he's correct.
okay.
With this being a restaurant, you'll have some kitchen hoods, you'll probably have a cooler, freezer, walk-in, maybe where are those items going to be located?
So as far as the space is, the kitchen's all going to be in the back half.
Okay.
And so then our thought, right, would be, we would just
Are
put
you-
out towards the back.
Are you going
Have
to,
a higher-
Build out the soda hoods, some of them still remain, not the hoods, but the mushroom caps. We probably won't use those, those new ones, modern ones. They're way in the back of the building where they're.
if you'll speak into the microphone, sorry.
They're, the old Alpharetta had, 8 or 10 mushroom caps up there. We removed a bunch of them when we re-roofed the building, TPO in the building, and they're in the back 15 feet. So that's where the slope is sloping down to almost a 5-foot parapet wall, and you won't be able to see any of those at all. But they'll be in the back, probably from where that line, I know the 4 screens coming together is creating that line, but from that line back is going to be the kitchen. So all the kitchen equipment will be in the back third, I have to say, or back quarter.
So Mike, they're all gonna be roof mounted, there won't be any wall mounted?
No wall mounted. So
Nothing.
nothing wall mounted.
Okay, so it's all roof, okay. And then how about a walk-in cooler freezer? Where is that happening?
That'll be inside the building.
Okay.
I have not seen, there'll be nothing outside except for the patio porch and the landscaping. I have not seen the interior plans yet for the from the tenant. The tenant's signing is contingent on this approval, whether they're going to come here or not come here, but the building will remain the same, but the kitchen will be in the back third. That's why he set up the storefront to be in the front third, the patio the second third, and the kitchen, I guess, the last third.
Okay, so how about the condensing unit for the walk-in cooler freezer? Where's that going to be located?
Condensing unit could either be on the roof or on top of the units. They're allowing them now on top of the units, and their ceilings in here are 16 feet tall, so there's plenty of room for a 8-foot, 9-foot cooler and a condensing unit with some kind of venting system to let that heat get out. So nothing on the roof except for a few mushroom caps and the RTU units, and probably a makeup air fan as well. I only know all this because I've done all the construction on the building.
Okay.
If we go back to the patio for a second, the fence, what was you started to?
So our intention was to have kind of an iron fence so that the landscaping could kind of weave in and out of it. And so it would kind of become part of the landscaping.
So you haven't specifically selected exactly what that fence is going to
I
look like
don't have
yet?
a specific selection, no, sir.
Is that a safety fence or just client wanted it?
I think I speak loud enough without the speaker.
Sorry, still have to go in the microphone.
Being
Yeah.
recorded.
Here we go. It's just going to be a standard black aluminum or iron fence with 2 rails along the top. And I think the client wanted to have that just as a separation.
Okay.
But when you put the landscape up against a fence like that, I actually have it at my house as well, you can see right through and see the landscaping. That's the idea, is to see the green, but still have that safety. And probably good for, if someone's having a drink out there, to have that separation for,
All right, so it'll be basically a powder-coated aluminum
Correct.
fence that has the double rails at the top.
Correct, correct. If the client comes with something different, then we'll have to come through and say, here's a fence they proposed. But
Yeah,
right now,
I was just, some people, a lot of jurisdictions require that if you're gonna serve alcohol outside, you have to have that fence. We don't in the downtown, so that's why I asked what the intent was, if it was a safety thing, if it was an alcohol containment. For us, you don't have to have it.
I think it's more safety.
The parking's right there. We feel like it's
That's fine.
Separates it a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, great. And I also want to say, when we reconfigured the front of the building, we took off that canopy, we added a 4th handicap spot. Fire marshal came out to inspect that and inspect the ramp and said, boy, it's right in front of the new proposed building, perfect. So we thought about that ahead, so we had our handicap requirements met.
Yeah, I think especially because the one side is just adjoins the parking lot, having a
Right.
fence there gives you a little bit of
I think
a
it's
feeling of separation from the park.
If the tenant says they don't want it, then we can explain why we think it's a good idea.
Yeah, 'cause you'll,
And Shake Shack's coming in, there's gonna be a lot of action over there, so I kind of feel like it's a good idea to have that.
I agree.
We'll call it the Fulton Science Academy fence. How about that?
this is exactly.
It's not gonna be 6 feet tall, though, right?
No.
No.
Okay.
And the patio surface is just poured cement, or what is that?
Yeah, right now we just, I don't know if we've gotten to that point yet with the tenant, but our idea was it would basically be poured cement, that's correct. And maybe some kind of finish for pedestrian traffic coding or something like that.
If there's anything there that would change, sorry, if there's anything that would
Just
change
sit in one
there,
of the
we would, if the tenant came in.
Sit right here as well if you
Okay,
want.
I'm sorry. If the tenant came and said, we want to do some kind of paver blocks in there, then we would accommodate that. But right now, it's just going to be a nice poured concrete, maybe even a stained concrete floor. And something that's going to be easy to maintain. Even though it's covered, you might get some rain in there. And based on the square footage, there's not going to be very many tables out there. We think only 4 to 6 tables.
Yeah.
That's all they wanted. We thought, do you want a bigger patio? And they said, no, we just want a little area to expand and go outside, so.
Yeah, it's not very big.
No, it's not. It's good and bad, right? It's not too big where you're trying to approve some big patio. The one that was there was monstrous and barely used. If you've gone to Alpharetta over the years, there was one person sitting out there and it was 130 degrees. So
Yes.
in Georgia, they didn't see a reason to have a large patio out there. Of course, with the pandemic, maybe it makes sense to have a bigger patio, but they feel like they're comfortable with this patio that in the lease they put, we want a 380 square foot patio. We said, fine.
Mike, did they choose that location? Is there a reason why we didn't push it to the front? To make it more visible patio?
They choose that location. They wanted to have just a few spots around the side, just 2 or 3 spots around the side, whether it's employees or some.
So it's based more on their interior layout, probably where it was
Correct.
than.
Back third being kitchen, middle third being, you know, kind of the flow area and the patio area and the front third being the main dining. That way you get, the other reason is, I can tell you just from an architect's perspective, I'm sorry, Stuart,
No, go
this
for
stuff on
it.
here, is to get the windows with the view plane looking out and bringing that sun in and letting people look out. Alpharetta had, you know, some windows there before, so that looks out towards the, I don't know, the Shake Shack building you guys approved looks nice, and so that's the view.
And the beautiful landscaping that Pete's gonna
And
show.
the beautiful, right.
So speaking of windows, the windows on the front, did you keep them up off the ground because there's going to be tables there? Or because we kind of like the look of the center state windows that, in fact, you have them on the side, right? They go down.
On the side, they're just office windows that we put in. On the front, they go down to the floor ground, but the rest of the facade that you guys approved, they're all up with the brick underneath. We want to keep them up, like you said, for the table, up at that 36 inches.
So you're going to have tables along that front?
Along that wall, yep, I believe. No matter what tenant's going to be there, they're going to have tables along that wall.
You'd probably have tables there.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay, one of the concerns I have is of the outdoor patio area during the winter time. If they're going to be serving during the winter time, sometimes we get tenants that put in these plastic screens or not so nice looking enclosures to allow patrons to dine during the kind of the cooler or the cold winter months. Is there any plans?
I would let them fight that battle. I would say as the owner rep for the building, I would say we're not going to permit that. I can tell Vince in the lease to say you can't put any kind of hokey plastic covers. If you want to do something, you got to go to front of DRB, do something tasteful, whether it's a Arcadia system or something that's, you know, a shutter system, but I'm not for them either.
And maybe just as a suggestion, maybe as you're gonna be the contractor, maybe a gas stub, so that they don't end up with those silver heaters underneath there or some other funky stuff.
We'll propose that to them because they make them really nice now. I've done 6 restaurants in 2 years, so I've used all different type of product like that.
Yeah, so they make
They're
them really
so
nice.
lineal now, you can't even see them, and
Yeah.
we don't want that. And I think those are a safety hazard a little bit anyway. I don't want customers sometimes turn them on and play with them. And I'd rather have them built in where they're not visible.
Those are ones
I've never
that
done
fell into coalition and shattered the windows?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, but that's not good.
Don't want that.
Fell, got knocked over,
Yeah,
something.
whatever, pushed down. Yes.
But to Michael's point earlier, that's another reason we didn't want to oversize the patio.
Yeah.
Because in the wintertime, it's just most likely not going to be used.
One more point about the brick underneath besides the functionality of the tables underneath the windows. There's 3 parking spots there. Let's say someone, because I know someone, I built Bobby G Chicago Eatery in Milton, and someone drove right through into the dining room. When they were coming out of the nail salon, they put it in drive instead of reverse and drove right into the dining room, and people scattered, no one got hurt. But having that 3-foot brick, solid brick, double brick there is, I think, a safety.
That's called drive-through service.
We don't intend to drive through.
Right, yeah, we're not going to drive through.
Yeah, don't want that.
That'll shut your restaurant down. Again, I go back, the only concern I have is making sure we don't see rooftop units or mushroom hoods on the roof. So,
I'll take personal responsibility for that, since I just pulled the permit.
And the good news is the parapets all match with what's there now, and you don't currently see anything. So we're confident we can.
okay. All right, any other questions, comments for the?
No, we got landscape still, I think.
Yeah, let's go quickly through, let's go through the landscape, just to talk about the plant materials that you've got selected.
Yeah, Pete, I'm gonna turn this over to you.
My name's Pete Bilson. I'm landscape architect. So basically the site is existing. It's got a lot of existing landscaping. Some of the landscaping's been there for a while, some of it's fairly new. And all the existing landscaping will remain in place, except for where the proposed building is, which it's basically grass, or right now it's just wheat straw. And so that'll be taken up with the building. The proposed patio area will have landscaping around it. The transformer will have landscaping around it. That's all new proposed landscaping. There's an existing tree toward the back. It's actually a peach tree. It's got peaches on it right now, so maybe in a few weeks you can go by there and grab a peach. I tried one, but they're not ready yet, so.
Interesting.
On each side of the transformer, I'm putting some emerald green arborvitae, which will get about 12 feet tall. That'll screen the transformer from front and back, both sides. I've got anise, which is along the building, which was also kind of a shade-tolerant plant that will get fairly big, nice hedge. And then between the arborvitae and the patio, I'm putting some loropetalum and stepping it down to azaleas. So there'll be azaleas right next to the patio. And then from the Haynesbridge side, I've got variegated liriope and then Carissa holly. And it's just kind of a narrow area. And then I've got variegated liriope between the patio and the curb of the parking lot because there's just a small area to put something there. And then the only other area that we're proposing anything is, that's it. Everything else is existing.
Okey-doke.
Mr. Wilson, taking a look at a couple of spots you have here. This is a suggestion more than a directive, but oftentimes where there's an island with a tree, we overplant the low planting and the tree suffers because it's a competition. Who's going to get the water? Who's going to get the nutrients? So where you have a lot of planting, I would consider making a balance there. So where you have shrubs and ground cover, give the tree the benefit because it's the tree that's more important there. It looks like where there's an existing tree on the northeast corner that it isn't there anymore.
Not there.
Also, on the south side of the building, or the east, I should say, you're using trident maples. Do you have any room there to use more of a shade tree, or is your site conforming to the amount of shade tree cover that you need for the property?
No.
I think that one where that trident maple is, I don't think that's happening, Richard.
Yeah,
that island.
On the south end.
On the south.
Cut back to existing condition. It's been recently landscaped. There's no tree there now.
Okay.
I had proposed that, but then I think we took that out.
All right.
But to answer your question, I like to plant trident maples in parking lot islands because they're a real durable tree.
Yeah.
They do way better than a red maple. They do better than most other trees that I've ever had experience with. So that's why I use trident maples in parking lots.
Yeah. And
they provide shade. They're just not a huge tree, and I don't think we need huge trees in parking lots anyway, but that's just me.
And the balance of your plant material are tough things because this is a tough site.
Yeah.
It's a harsh environment for plants. Also, where there are existing plants, make sure that they're happy there, make sure the conditions are right for them to continue to thrive, because sometimes they'll be tired and they'll be growing in harsh soil conditions that needs improvement. So where you need to enhance that soil and make them happier, that would be something we'd like to see.
I can speak to that specifically to that island that's just off the patio that's towards the parking lot. That island needs a little help, so we'll do a little focus on that island right there on that point.
We can work with staff to put in a tree there. I thought there was a tree there. Maybe when I went out there was. It's not there now.
I don't remember the beaches,
but we can work with staff to, when we go to the LDP and do that,
may be mistaken.
We'll put a tree there and some shrubs.
Good, okay.
That tree was there at one time.
Yeah, it was.
It's there from an old photograph.
Right.
The area around the patio, is that going to be irrigated?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, just want to make
That's
sure.
my understanding.
There's existing irrigation, drip irrigation on the whole property, including the sod along the Haynes Bridge, so I think they'll just extend that drip irrigation to that 18 inches all along the building, as well as the proposed, what Pete proposed for the new landscaping, so it'll all be irrigated, yes.
Okay, good. All right, any comments, questions?
No.
I have a building question. Is there any building lights? There's none on here. Are you planning to light up the building at all on this end?
I think our goal was to just match again what was the existing.
There's a couple sconces on the other side. I didn't know if you're going to.
Yeah, I can speak to it. The bank wanted to look like it was their own building. They had the bank superiority complex.
Okay.
So they wanted to have two sconces to make them different, add that canopy, be taller than everybody else, and we wanted to draw them. That's the regional branch for this new bank that's come here. They just changed the name from Center City to South Bank. So they've got little sconces on their little pilasters that you guys suggested at your last, so we did that. And no one else will have those, but the canopies that we built that you suggested all have LED recessed lighting, so the whole sidewalk's lit up beautifully.
And it's currently there on the back.
It's currently there, yeah. If you go by at night, you'll see it's all lit up really nice.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, less is more. I don't want to use a cliche, but we're trying not to have too many sconces different.
Ready for motion?
Motion time?
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Chairman, regarding DRB 210035 Stonewalk 2, motion to approve the site plan, elevation, and materials as presented with the following clarification. The patio fence will be the typical powder-coated aluminum with double-top rail. And applicant will work with staff on the patio surface finish when that is determined. In the motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Swing. I think I heard Ms. Rocco second that. So I'll give credit to Katie Rocco for a second. And before I call for a vote, is there any comment from general public? There is no general public.
I think we have any public.
Nope. All right, very good. All right, any comments or questions about the motion? So we've got site plan, elevations, and materials in this motion. All good? All right, no other comments or questions? I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All opposed, no opposition. Motion passes 6-0. All right. Landscaping.
Mr. Chairman? I move that for DRB 10035, that we approve the landscape planting as presented today with one consideration, that where existing planting is indicated, that assurance will be given that that material will thrive and flourish where it is. If it needs any attention, we want to see that enhanced in the motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Owens, a second by Ms. Palmer. Comments, questions about the motion? All right, is there any comment from the public? Since there is no public, there aren't any comments. All right, anything else before I call for a vote? All right, all in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All opposed, no opposition. Motion passes 6-0. Very good. Thank you for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your expedient review. We're going to go to Officer Martin's funeral, so.
Oh, that's right.
That's at 2
Sorry to
o'clock.
hear about that, yeah.
Good.
All right. Thank you very much, board members. There being no further business and without any exceptions from board members, this meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you. Lunchtime.